He's worse than Randolph Richardson.
Well,
he just turns it on, off and on, depending on who he's dealing with.
Well,
Darth,
then I'm very curious. Oz, are you a lactheist or are you an atheist?
They're the same thing, except I have an issue with the term lactheist that I'd like to get into, John.
That question wasn't directed to you, Randolph.
I know. I'm just letting you know.
No, I'm an atheist. I have a lack or an absence of belief. The only time there's any button hit or switch flipped as far as how I normally have conversations with people is if it's with Darth, because he doesn't know how to have a civil conversation.
Oh, it's called.
I know how to have a civil conversation, but when somebody is lying to my face, I'm going to get irritated. And you want to know something? The last time you and I spoke, Oz, you're actually lying because you were not civil with me, were you?
No, I know right where to go to pull the video.
Were you civil with me on Discord, Oz?
Well, that shows you have no idea what you're talking about because the last time we talked was
Were
not
you
on Discord.
civil with me? Were you civil with me on Discord, Oz?
Darth, we have only spoken one time on Discord.
You haven't answered me.
Yes.
The last time when we talked, were you civil to me?
Absolutely.
No, you're not. You're lying. You're absolutely lying.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. See, this is the problem, LP. These atheists are shameless about lying. Absolutely shameless.
Okay,
now you're claiming to be a lactheist. Now, I guess you didn't hear it. This is okay. Do you positively believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts, Oz?
Okay, so everybody pay attention because this is where Darth and I bang heads every time. Darth, we already know where this leads to.
Okay, notice he's not answering the question. Everybody see that? Here we go with the prevarication.
And I'm not going to go down the rabbit trail.
So I'm not gonna answer the question. I'm not gonna make it clear what my position is. I'm just gonna talk in vagaries and I'm gonna equivocate and I'm gonna be ambiguous. That way I represent myself in a way that I insulate myself from having to defend what I really believe. You're not gonna answer a legitimate question?
And see, no, because we did that. The very first time you and I spoke.
No, I haven't gotten an answer to this question.
And see, I have.
But it's live.
You see how they waste time. You see how they run the clock out, right? I asked you a simple question.
Darth, can you ever settle down just for a second and let somebody speak?
Good. Answer my question.
So we're going to talk about talking.
What's that?
Yeah. Can you answer my question, please?
Well, no. I'm going to answer it the same way every time we talk. I'm going to answer it the same way I always do. There's no point in having this conversation if we don't have a God that you can demonstrate or we can prove to be falsified.
Okay. Now, notice he's not answering the question. Now he's invoking the falsification criterion. Anyway, I have to run an errand. I should be back in about 20 minutes, and we will resume the review and analysis of Oz the Atheist. And you're going to see how much of a prevaricator and liar and deceiver as Randolph Richardson. Okay? And just to give you a little hint, scenes of coming attractions, he tries to invoke the falsification criterion in order to neutralize or be dismissive of God. But I turn the tables on him, and it turns out that his model of reality, of not God, is unfalsifiable, which means he has to abandon it on the terms of his own criterion of belief. But he won't even acknowledge that he has a worldview. This is how craven these people are. All right, I'll be back in about 20, 25 minutes.
Defend your atheism.
Hey Tom, how's it going?
All right, man. How are you?
Good, good. I have a question. If anyone's around. Is anyone around?
I mean, I'm here.
I'm just wondering, like, about this channel, like, who set it up, and who is there like a leader of the channel, or is it?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. I'm still kind of new.
Yeah.
I'm one of the head moderators here.
So what was the like origins of it? Is it?
That's something. That's something that it'll be way too long to explain that.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, and I don't really go into the background of the whole thing.
But what was it like? Is there anywhere? Because I don't know if it's anywhere to read like what it's about. You know, like an about page.
All you need to know is that when you come into this room, it's just just conduct yourself civilly, and then you'll be allowed to come back.
Yeah.
That's all that really matters.
That's fair enough. But is it typically like a place where people debate belief and non-belief? That's the crux of it.
Well, we can do that in here, but like certain rooms that are in here are for specific purposes. We can debate belief and non-belief, but in this room, specifically in Atheist Helpline, our goal is to get across to the unbeliever that their worldview is incoherent, and in doing so, they're rejecting a God that has lovingly provided them away from the damnation that there is to come, and they need to lay down that incoherent worldview, submit to the sovereignty of Jesus Christ, repent, and so they're not only saved from eternal damnation, they'll also have their reasoning saved right here and right now. So this is the point of this room, and then you got rooms like the Lifeline. That's actually my room down below there. We talk about abortion in that room more often than not, and why it's an immoral position to hold, and why you need to be pro-life.
Yeah, but that's just a message line. That's not a chat room.
And then you got general chat. You can pretty much talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of these rooms are for specific purposes.
Oh, I see. The Lifeline, as in life, as in pro-life. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. It's just good to get a little bit of background, little bit about the whole setup, you know. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Darth, Dawkins seems to be quite a prominent. Is he like another kind of moderator? It's like sometimes it feels like it's his room, you know, like his thing.
Atheist Helpline is his room specifically.
Yeah. An interesting thought today. Actually, could ask you about.
Okay, go ahead.
If I could ask you what you would do in the following scenario, right? It's kind of like a moral dilemma. So if you were walking past a bank, right, and there's a cash point, and you see some money on the floor, and the bank's open, what would you do?
What? How much? Well, I
I don't
think.
know, like $250, like a substantial amount that someone would be put out for losing. You know.
Hmm. I think that would be honestly. I think that would be up to you at that point.
But I
And
just
I don't
wondered
think
what.
there's. And I don't think there's necessarily any wrong answer to it. I think if you came across it on the ground or something like that, you know, it doesn't seem to me you would have any real obligation to return it. Um, if it crosses a certain threshold, like let's say I don't know, let's say you find a brown paper bag and within it it seems to be like thousands of dollars in there. I think something like that could have been potentially stolen funds or something like that, and then you may have a responsibility to return that money. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Fair
think it
enough.
just depends on what the amount is.
I guess I was just shortcutting to a dilemma that we would that in which we would act the same way. So maybe it's like a wallet on the ground or something like, or a wallet in a bar, and there's money in it and cards and stuff. Like, would you
Yes,
return? Would you
yeah,
return it?
something like that. Typically has identification and things like that, and then I think there's a responsibility for you to return that because you can identify specifically who that would belong to. So
I see what
I
you
don't
mean.
think you
Yeah.
have
Okay.
I don't think you have a right to take that money if you can
Yeah.
specifically identify who it belongs to. If you
So
just
there
find
was.
like $100 on the ground and there's no identification alongside it, no nothing like that, you have no way of knowing who that belongs to anyway. And I don't
Got it.
see a problem
Got
for
it.
you to keep that money.
Yeah, got it. Okay, well then, no, that's actually happened to me. I was on the train station, and I noticed on the bench there was a wallet, and I it was my local train station, and I took the wallet, and it was full of money. Passport was in it. Can you believe that? Passport was in it.
Yeah,
Plane tickets. I mean, this person was screwed. You know, like really. So I could, I took it up to the ticket desk, handed it in, and I was kind of glad that I'd found it because I knew that I was going to take it in and I wouldn't have taken anything, and I would have
good,
felt sorry for
good.
that person if someone else had done it. So can I assume that you would have done the same thing as well?
No, absolutely. And I have done
So
that. In fact, I work in an area to where that type of thing happens on a regular basis, and
yeah,
I've returned purses, I've returned um, I've returned a bunch of stuff, cell phone, smartphones, purses. Yeah, in fact, a lady found out that I had returned some of she had actually left her purse there, and she had found out that I was the one who returned it, and she gave me $20 as a reward.
yeah. So my next question is, if I don't believe in God and you believe in God, but we both did something like that, how do you account for that?
Well, the Christian position is the non-believer, as much as the believer, are both made in the image of God, and moral he has endowed his moral essence into us. So even if you don't acknowledge God as the unbeliever, you still share in his characteristics because of the fact that you're made in his image.
Right.
And in that way you can do certain things that are morally virtuous, like returning lost money or a lost wallet or something like that. So that's how I account for that.
Yeah, but then why do I need to believe in God if I'm going to act in that way anyway? Why do I need to acknowledge that God exists if I haven't been shown enough proof
Uh,
for me? Like an
uh,
ongoing unbelief because I just haven't got it yet.
you don't
What
believe
difference
in
does it make?
God. Well, you don't believe in God because it makes you good or because you need to be good or something like that. Because the Bible talks about how only God is good. You should
Yeah.
believe in God because He's sovereign over your life and He has lovingly and graciously granted you everything. and that he is so deserving of that by virtue of the very person he is. You owe your you owe your everything to Christ. That's why you need to
But
believe in him.
why? Why? At what? Because just in terms of not going to hell.
Well, it's not only about not going to hell. It's about by virtue of who he is, he deserves that kind of respect and adoration. He is sovereign over everything. I mean, think about this. Have you ever went into a courtroom or have seen shows about people who are in a courtroom and then right before proceedings start, the bailiff will say, "All rise," and then everybody in the courtroom will stand up when the judge enters the room.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
about that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, why do they stand up?
Respect.
Yeah, are
An
they
acknowledgement to authority and the
that's
judge presiding over the case.
that's right. Do you believe that judge deserves that respect and yeah? Do you believe he deserves that due respect?
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're saying that God is the highest. In fact, Jesus is referred to in the scriptures as the Most High.
Yeah.
So if that much lower being, that judge in that courtroom, is deserving of respect according to what you just said. Jesus is
Yeah.
the Most High. He is way higher than that.
I
So
actually,
all the more true that Jesus is deserving of your adoration and of your life and everything that He's giving you.
I actually think it is really helpful and healthy to have something to believe in that's greater than you are. I mean, we'll disagree on what that is, but I think we would agree that it's good to have that. You know, that there's something greater than you to trust in, and you know, people give that so many different names and concepts. I think we have that in common, but that's
Hmm.
probably it. You know, like I can get the concept of it on a big picture concept. I wouldn't describe it in the same way, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't give it a kind of an
but
entity. You know.
let's just say it could be shown to you that everything has been lovingly and graciously given to you from His hand, and He provides you with the ability to reason, the ability to love your neighbor, the ability to invent, the ability to uh, really explore your imagination, all these amazing, gracious things that He has given you from His hand. If it could be shown to you that God has granted you all these things, don't you think on some level you would deserve that He would be owed your life and that He deserves that adoration from you? Don't you think that would be the case if that could be shown to you?
Maybe. I mean, it would depend why he did it. You know, because there's something about that I find unpleasant. You know, that I would be in servitude of something like that and in debt. I wouldn't be free. I wouldn't be free to. Is it a gift, or is it a you know, is it a job, or you know, have I been created to be free and my own person, or am I
Do
supposed to
you,
be a servant? It's not quite the same thing, is
do,
it?
do, do you get to determine whether or not God, the Most High, is deserving of your praise or not? Are you the judge over that, sir?
Well, I mean, we can't really start at the point where he exists because I don't believe he exists.
Well, let's not even say that He exists necessarily at this point.
Okay.
I'm just saying, just imagine, for the sake of argument, God exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
From that perspective, do you believe that you would be the judge over whether He's worthy of your praise and adoration or not?
I would certainly be. I would certainly, you know, if it was proven to me that he exists, then yeah, I couldn't deny that, obviously, but I would want to know from him whether I'm supposed to be his servant or not, what he would want from me, And what would happen if I didn't do it?
Yeah, what will happen if you didn't rise in the courtroom when the judge comes in? You would
I
be
actually
held
don't.
in contempt, wouldn't you?
No, I don't think you would. It depends which. It depends
You
where you
yes,
were
you would,
sitting.
sir. Yes, you
Huh?
would, sir. No,
With
no,
what?
this is obviously predicated on the clear and the clear and able ability for you to be able to stand. I'm not talking about people who have handicap
Oh
limitations.
no, neither am I. I'm talking about whether you were in the audience or whether you were the guilty, the charge, the criminal or the person defending or one of the staff members. If you were just in the back of the audience and you didn't stand, you probably wouldn't really, nothing would happen, right? But if you were in the dock, you were the person defending a case, yeah, you probably wouldn't, it wouldn't go down very well.
Insofar as your ability to stand up, everybody must stand up in that room, sir. And if you
Yeah, but
don't,
you wouldn't get
you will
punished.
more than likely be held in contempt of court. It's happened many times, dude.
Really? I didn't know that. Well,
Because that's just basic historical and legal precedent in those situations.
so what if you didn't stand up? What would happen? You get thrown out.
Yeah, it's called contempt of court because you're showing disrespect to the foremost authority in that room.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was that enforced. I thought people would
It
just
is.
like look at you and go, "Stand up, you idiot."
No, it's not. You don't. They don't just say that for their health, sir.
Yeah,
It's to give due authority and respect to the foremost authority in that room over those proceedings.
yeah, quite right, quite right.
So
Yeah.
this is what we're saying. We're saying that God is the Most High, and the Bible talks about how every knee shall bow. The fact that every knee shall bow isn't just for the sake of people bowing their knees. It's because that God is sovereign over all. He
Okay,
is
let me ask you another
over
question.
everything.
Yeah,
He is
let me.
above all else and above everything else.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you another question then. Would you rather I was an atheist and behaved in a good, in a way, morally good way, like the demonstration of the wallet, for example, or only wanted the best for my fellow man, or would you rather I was a believer and a complete asshole? Which of those would you
Repeat that,
prefer?
please.
Like, would you prefer that I was a morally and ethically good person but an atheist, or a real
No, I
jerk
think you would
but a
prefer
believer?
if you were saved by Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Huh?
How
I
you
didn't
live
hear
your
that.
life, how you live during the course of your life is ultimately irrelevant. The only thing I'm concerned about is what your salvific state is by the time you breathe your last breath.
So what?
That's
So
all
I
I'm
could
concerned
I could be
about.
a complete jerk, but as long as I accepted Jesus when I
Huh.
die, that's okay.
Well, think about this. The Bible talks about what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul. So let's just say you provided the cure to cancer. You were this amazing philanthropist. You did all these great acts of moral virtue, but you never bowed the knee to Jesus Christ. And by the end of your life, all that good you did in the world isn't going to amount to anything that's going to do anything for your salvific state whatsoever. So I would I would want you to just simply hold the fact that God is sovereign and just listen to what He says,
Yeah.
because you can do all these acts of good all day long, but at the end of the day, if you're unrepentant, you're spitting in the face of God, and namely, you're spitting in the face of what um, God the Father did by giving His only begotten Son, of what His Son lovingly did on the cross. You're
This
basically
is
saying,
where.
oh, I don't. You're basically saying, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to look into my own goodness, and I'm going to look in my own efforts, this, that, and the third, and this is how I'm going to live my life. It doesn't matter what he did for me. It only matters what I do for everybody else, and for people to see me as being good,
But I
rather
thought you
than
said.
beholding the fact that all these things come from God's hand.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
was
what
going
you're
to
doing.
say.
You're holding yourself above God, and
Yeah.
that is called blasphemy, my man.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, you just answered my next question, because I was going to say, didn't you say before that all my acts of good and the goodness in me comes from God anyway? And then you just
That's
said,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you are crediting those acts of goodness to yourself instead of beholding the fact that they're from his hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Why would God create people who didn't believe in him, who would act good, act through, like he would act through them? What difference does it make whether they acknowledge
What
him or
difference does
not?
that make? You don't believe God exists in the first place. What difference does that make?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to understand your point of view. Like, what difference does it make? Why is God so
Uh,
concerned with people believing him?
I believe God has instantiated certain events, which includes a world where people will not believe in Him, to show to show the sinful heart of man, and how those who do actually repent, just how much they need Him and require Him desperately. It's to juxtapose the reality of how much we need God and how we could do nothing without Him. And there's going to be people who continually refuse to bow the knee to Jesus Christ, to where they're going to think things in their own autonomous way of thinking. They're going to think that they can handle everything without God, and nothing requires God. And people who are continually unrepentant and rejecting of the loving graciousness of Him, are an example to those who do acknowledge Him and do hold Him sovereign. They're an example to people who do see God as the position He's worthy to be in.
Think
So
I
God
understand.
has
Yeah.
that. However God does things and orders things as for His ultimate divine purposes, and I think unbelievers are part of that purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So why would they be punished if they're part of his plan?
Um, I mean, because God is perfectly wise in everything He does, and in that plan includes believers who are going to be punished. He has every right as God to instantiate the world exactly like that.
Sounds, yeah. These are the kind of problems that I have with it. But I get it. I get it. Thanks. I appreciate the. I get it. I get it. But I get.
Well, yeah. See, there's a difference between, and I get what you're getting at, but there's a difference between looking at these issues and having what's called an emotional problem with it versus a logical problem with it. Like, for instance, people talk about the problem of evil, and they'll say, well, if God is so good, why is there so much suffering and evil in the world? There's what's called the so-called logical problem of evil, which, when we break it down, it's actually no logical problem. But there's also the emotional problem. That's the real issue with the vast majority of people who bring up the problem of evil. They just have an emotional problem with the existence of suffering and evil in this world, given an all good and all righteous, holy, just God. So the issue is this: is your objection purely emotional, or is it rational?
Well, you won't like it, but it's rational.
Okay, so why is your objection rational? Rationally ground that for us.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I've kind of realized that that whole argument is pointless,
No, I'm
because we
just
have a
interested
different.
in your reasoning. You.
No,
No, dude, that's the entire presuppositional transcendental whole point. Is that
yeah, exactly. And I don't.
yeah, it's that when unbelievers say things, they don't justify them.
No, but
They just
there's
say
just
whatever they want.
yeah, but there's the problem I found, having had a few debates and listened to a few, and very quickly I realized that our worldviews are so incompatible there really isn't any meeting ground.
You don't
and there's
understand.
no point having that debate. There's no point.
You don't get it. No, you don't get it. When a presuppositionalist argues against you, he's arguing from within your paradigm.
Yeah, exactly. And it's completely incompatible. There's no.
No, you missed it again.
There's no debate. There's no discussion.
No, you missed it again.
It is compatible.
From your view, should every belief be justified?
No, this is why I was more interested in like how you guys behave or what you would choose to do, and
why? Who cares?
You know, from a social point of view, because we all have to live together. You know, and
who cares? What if Christians just decide to kill everybody? Like, so what?
I can't hear you very well. Sorry, man. Let me turn you up.
Yeah, I'm just saying, who cares about that? Like, why would you be interested in that? Like, what if Christians just decide to kill everybody? Who cares?
What if Christians decide to kill everybody?
Yeah, why is that wrong?
Well, I mean, are you asking me really like how I know it's wrong?
Yeah, like, dude, listen, the whole point. I mean, you can.
Yeah, this is the point I'm making.
I'm derailing. The whole point is that like unbelievers can't justify anything. That's the whole point.
According to your worldview. According to your worldview.
No, according to your own light, you ding dong.
Yeah,
according on your own light. According to your own view.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, actually, unbelievers can justify things, but they just usually don't.
I get it.
No, they don't. They don't justify.
Okay. Can you name me? Hey, Auricard, is that how you say it? Auricard? Auricard?
Auricard. However you want.
Okay. It's all right. Is that like Dracula backwards or something?
With a Japanese accent, yeah.
Yeah. So can I just say Dracula just so it'll be easier?
Yeah, whatever you want. I don't. It doesn't bother me.
I'll just call you Dracula. So can you name me one? Let's just say I don't know, feeding the hungry, giving shelter to the homeless. Can you name me one moral proposition to where an atheist worldview can properly rationalize and justify it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's less interesting to think of an example than to just talk about the reasons, though.
Okay, so let's say I don't know, feeding the hungry. Is there any way that the atheist worldview can justify and ground that?
Yeah, but real quick, can I just get like a sense of what exactly you mean when you say the atheist worldview?
Oh yeah, just the fact that there is no God, there is no personal creator, or there is no personal order to the events and to things that happen in this world, and ultimately that man is sovereign over all facts.
Here's a better way to think about it. Are you a Christian?
I mean, there was a lot of stuff there that I don't necessarily buy into, but just
Here, I'll help you. Are you a Christian?
Well, that's an impossible.
The answer is obviously you're not, man. You're not a Christian.
No. So the answer is technically I'm a confirmed Catholic. So to the degree that makes me a Christian, I'm a Christian. Also, I believe that
I'm sorry. Do you have you officially bowed the knee and beheld that Jesus Christ is your personal Lord and Savior? Have you done that?
Well, I personally believe that it's a provable fact that no such thing as God exists.
Good.
Right. Then you can't be a Christian.
Easy.
If there is no God, then you can't be a Christian.
When you say, what is the atheistic worldview? It just means the system that is not Christian. That's
I think
worldview. The system that is not Christian.
So the way that an atheist should justify morality is using logic and reason. They just don't usually do that.
What are you talking about? How is that not a naturalistic fallacy?
Wait, how is it a fallacy?
Because you can't derive shoulds and oughts from logic or entailments or anything.
No, I reject the premise that you can't derive an ought from an is.
How?
Okay,
how would you derive an ought from an is?
Please explain how you've defeated Hume.
Sorry, one at a time. What?
How did you defeat Hume?
Wait, please ask like a actual specific question. I'm not brushed up
How
on my
did you
Hume.
defeat Hume's articulation of the naturalistic fallacy?
I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with Hume. Can you say his argument
How
instead
can you
of just?
derive an ought from an is?
Well, why couldn't you?
Because that's just the naturalistic fallacy. Because you can
Wait,
never derive
so it
what
is.
you don't.
Wait, you're just
Yeah,
saying it
here's
is
why.
because it is.
No, and then I was giving my explanation before you interrupted me.
All right, please
The
give me the
reason
explanation.
being is you never observe shouldness or oughtness. Observation only consists of how things presently are, and should and ought are always like modal almost.
So
like,
what's your
the same thing.
What's your definition of an ought?
A proposition that contains the word should or ought or obligation, like yeah.
You're not allowed to use the word in its own
Tom,
definition.
Let's look at it this way: precipitation falling from the sky doesn't adjudicate why I ought to feed the hungry. Understand?
But that's So anyone can give an example of how something doesn't work, but that doesn't demonstrate anything, like logically speaking.
Well, we're just observing things that happen in the world and saying that just observing things happening doesn't give you moral predications.
Dude, what are you talking about? You're just making stuff up. Like,
No,
you
I'm
get
not making stuff
morality
up.
from logic? Okay, please tell me how you get morality from logic.
Because instincts are a lower form of logic, and that's where we get morality from.
Is instinct propositional?
Define propositional?
Truth-bearing, the meaningful, like it's what like language refers to, the content of your thoughts. Like, is it a different type thing than like thought, instinct? Are they different than thought?
I mean, there's what would be the meaning in them being different?
Let me put it a different way. Is there a fact of the matter as to what instinct somebody should have or not?
Yeah, there's emotions like empathy.
Yeah. So the way that we derive an ought from an is through instinct. So we appeal
That's not
to
my question.
We appeal to basic reason.
Is there a fact of the matter as to what instinct should or should not be?
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it right now.
No, you're just saying how you derive oughts from that instinct.
Let him
I'm
talk.
asking about the instinct.
Let him
Why?
talk.
He just he's just one of these people that doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Thank you. Hold on. I'm trying to remember where I was.
Here's the question again. Is there a fact of the matter as to what instinct should or should not be? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, I believe I am answering that question by trying to explain to you how I get an ought from an is. Do you disagree?
Dude, you're saying there's some stuff derived from instinct. Whatever. I'm asking, is there a fact of the matter as to what instincts should or should not be?
Yes, and if you allow me to explain it, I will. Are you going to allow me to? Oh, cool.
Go ahead.
So the way we get an is from an ought through instinct is by appealing to basic reason. So we look at the agreed upon fact that killing is bad, and then we ask ourselves, why does everyone agree?
Answer my question. This does not answer my question.
He is answering your question. He's answering your question.
Okay.
You gotta give him time. He can't do it in one sentence.
Do you know what a fact of the matter is? Do you know what a fact of the matter is?
Just let him talk for a bit. Just as
just know what a fact of the matter is.
I didn't even get to finish one sentence, actually.
Yeah, I know. Do you know what a fact of the matter is?
Just let him finish.
I don't know what
He's just wasting time. He's not even it's not even relevant. He's just begging the question.
I am answering your question, and I'm doing it in the most possible relevant way.
Fine. Just go fast. And here's the question again. How do you determine the fact of the matter as to what an instinct should or should not be?
So right now, I don't know exactly what you are trying to mean by the phrase fact of the matter, because every time I try to answer it the way I understand the phrase fact of the matter, you seem to think I'm not answering.
Yes, here's what you're doing. You're saying, well, just give an instinct, then we can derive ought. But I'm asking about the instinct.
I'm trying to explain it, but you're not letting me.
Dude, What are you doing? Like, you're not thinking. Look, I understand that if given instincts, then you can derive odds. I think that's, like, good, but that's not what I'm asking you. Try to think with me. Okay, if I'm just given your system, okay, just grant the system that people have instincts, then you can derive odds from isms, because you derive them from the instincts. All right,
so you're saying,
get that.
Are you saying people don't have instincts?
Listen to the question. Is there a fact of the matter as to what instincts should or should not be?
Yeah, I need you to clarify what you're asking me, because I don't understand your question.
A fact of the matter would be like some kind of entailing reference. Like a fact of the matter as to what determines what something should or should not be would be like a true proposition. It would be a truth that like lays out the law, or like lays out like the parameters of like what an instinct should or should not be in this case. Like, is there a fixed reference point that determines what instinct somebody should or should not have? I understand you have a system that just wants that instinct exists.
Yes,
fine.
the fixed reference point is the barrier or transition or difference between the state of being alive and the state of being dead.
Now, is that derived from an instinct, wanting to stay alive?
No, that's deeper than instinct. I mean, that is the derivation of instinct.
Well, you may have said it the opposite way. You mean that there's something deeper where instinct derives from.
That is what I tried to say. I may have said it incorrectly.
That's fine. Okay, so the need to stay alive is not an instinct. It's something that's derived from something else. So what's that something else then?
No. The desire to stay alive is an instinct, I believe, but it's not fair to just call it an instinct, because it is the instinct from which all other instincts derive.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's just pushing the question backward. Is there a fact of the matter as to why that one is correct or not? Why that one should be followed or should not be followed?
Is there an objective? Are you asking me? Are you asking me if there is an objective reason why it's superior to pursue life than death?
Basically, I'm just saying, like, what makes it? What's the truth maker for that? It doesn't have to be like
the truth maker. The truth maker is that it's an objective fact that pursuing life is superior to not pursuing life or pursuing death. Now
you're begging the question.
How?
Because you're saying that, well, the instinct to stay alive is good because we have the instinct to stay alive.
Yeah, that's a question begging fallacy.
Because how am I saying
that? The premise is in the before the conclusion. You have the exact same conclusion in your premise.
No. I'm making a claim that being alive is objectively better than being dead, and I'm saying that my other beliefs follow from that.
Yeah, what's the justification for that base belief? That's what I'm asking ultimately.
Right. So the justification for my belief that life is superior to death is the fact all the available empirical evidence that I have leads me to believe that anything that I want is only possible in the context of life. And the data likewise leads me to believe that anything I want is no longer possible in the context of my death.
I think this is, you're missing it. Like, if it was not the case that life is better than death, or that maybe it's the case that death is better than life, then the empirics would just be flipped. Like, your empirics are just based on, they're based on this axiom you have. I'm asking for the justification for the axiom.
So my axiom would be disproved by any evidence or logical reason to believe that there's anything to be gained from being dead.
The argument against it is that you hold it because of no reason. That's the whole problem. You hold this axiom because of no reason.
I just told you the reason is everything I want. There's only evidence to show that those things are possible during my life, and not during my death.
That's fine, dude, but it just derives from the axiom. Like, if you already hold the axiom that life is better than death, then other things are going to derive from that.
No, I'm telling you the reason for my axiom. It does not derive from the axiom. The axiom derives from it.
What are you talking about? So, no, you don't know what you're talking about again.
No, if the
Okay,
axiom
let's
derives
refocus.
from something, no, the axiom is the starting point, not something that would derive from anything else, man.
No. Axiom. Everything relies upon underlying assumptions. No matter what logical or theological system you're using, you have to start with a basic assumption of some kind or another and build upon that.
Well, where do you
fine.
get it in any sophisticated philosophical reference that an axiom derives from something else rather than it starts everything else?
It's called first principles. It's a logical concept, and no matter what system you use, it has to rest on a
Okay, so your first
foundation.
principle of ethics, your axiom of ethics, is that life is better than death.
Your first principle would just be an axiom, dude. That's the point.
No. First principles, plural.
Okay,
Which would be
One
based
life,
on a central axiom.
yeah.
Period.
One of them is life is better than death.
Correct. And another of them
Okay,
is
how is that axiom justified without begging the question?
define begging the question.
Dude.
Don't you know what that? If you don't know what
This
basic
is the problem
fallacies
with
are,
presuppositionalism.
if you hold on a second. If you don't know what these basic fallacies
read
are,
a
before you
logic
come into
text?
that
Like we know
conversation.
what the fallacies are? Like, what's the
Yeah.
problem? That we know what logic is?
This is basic stuff you should be acquainted with already. We shouldn't have to explain this to you.
Well, look, no, this guy's a nice guy, Dracula down here. He's actually being like a nice guy. But I guess I assume different because you were saying, well, you derive everything from logic, and it's like.
But
well,
anyway,
I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
I'm trying to explain what begging the question is. Begging the question is when one of your premises is when the conclusion is the same as one of your premises. In other words, before you even got into the conclusion, you've put it into your premise, and you haven't actually connected the dots. You've already presupposed the conclusion before you've proved it.
Right.
That's logically fallacious.
If you want me to, I can easily and very simply explain why I'm not doing that with what I've already said.
Okay, good. Then what's the justification for your axiom that you hold, where your ethics are derived from, or at least one of your axioms?
Oh, I told you what the justification is. I told you what the justification is.
No, you did by begging the question.
No, would you like me to explain how it wasn't begging the question?
All right, sure. What's the justification?
Okay, so the justification for the axiom is that the things that I want and the things that I enjoy, I have no reason to believe that I could ever have them if I was dead. Now, the reason that doesn't beg the question is because the axiom is life is superior to death, but the premise, I like the things that life offers me, does not prove that life is superior to death. It's just what I like. It's just what I like, and so it induces me to prefer life over death. But the logical proving of life being superior to death is separate than that. Even though I use the evidence of the only way for me to get the things that I want is to be alive, that logical proof is a separate thing from my emotional process of preferring life over death.
You're just making it up. Like, you're just begging the question.
This just sound like a bunch of bubble. This just sounded like garbage to me. I didn't really hear any rational explanation. You're just spewing a bunch of words and not making any sense.
You're just trying to make it up as you go along, which is fine.
No,
but like,
I'm not making anything up as I go along.
Look how quick I'll be. All right, so you being alive is the only way to get the things that you want, right? Well, implicit in that, the ultimate thing that you want is to stay alive. So it doesn't tell me how you got the original axiom. It's not a justification.
No. I want to live forever because I believe that life is the only way to have things in general.
Yeah, don't you understand that? It's just begging the question. You're saying the same thing twice.
Okay.
I want to stay alive because I feel like I need to stay alive.
God exists. God exists because God said God exists.
Yeah, that's right. It's circular, but it doesn't beg the question.
Right. No, what I'm doing is circular and does not beg the question. Get it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, not all categories are created equal, sir. You're talking about a non-transcendental category, so that's
No,
why it's
you're complaining. You're complaining about the fact that at the beginning of my worldview, of my logical worldview, there is a presupposition, but that's true for everyone, including you.
No, we're not complaining about the idea of presupposition. No, that wasn't the complaint at all, dude.
The difference is between mine and your views is Christians don't start at axioms necessarily, and I mean, it's okay.
I'm also not starting at an axiom. I'm starting at my lived experience, which tells me that I enjoy the things that life has to offer, and that I have every reason to believe that life is the only thing that can offer me those things. And then from there, I proceed to my axiom. I don't
know what you're talking about again.
I don't know how you think I'm starting from an axiom in a way that you're not.
You don't know what you're talking about. So let me get some clarification there. So at some point you learned that life was better than death?
Oh, well, that's kind of an interesting question. I mean, it's arguable that I always knew it subconsciously.
Yeah, so you never learned it.
It's an axiomatic assumption of everything that's alive that life is better than death. It's baked in.
Of course, I mean, if anyone could show any evidence or even any logical reason to believe that life is not necessarily better than death, I would take that seriously.
If it's an axiomatic assumption, then it would be
because you chose it. The reason is because you have that axiom because of no reason.
Yeah. What axiom do I have because of no reason?
Yeah, if it's axioms have been stipulated in philosophy to be by definition unjustified, sir. Do you deny that?
Yeah, that's why I'm not characterizing it as an axiom. Only you are.
That's fine. No, we'll give you some credit on that.
Well, it's just a starting point either way. I mean, if the starting point is unjustified, then it's functionally no different than an axiom, sir.
That's right. Well, that's correct. That's what we're trying to show you.
But what I'm trying to show you is that my justification is equally valid to yours.
No, it's not. You keep begging the question.
Wait, how am I begging the question in a way you're not?
Because the Christian says that some things are transcendentally necessary.
Wait, but I don't. Wait, but I say that too.
Yeah, I know, but on your view, like, let's put it this way. Is there a possible world where every being just has the innate idea that death is better than life? Is that a possible world?
That's a really interesting. That's a really interesting question. In order for that world to be possible, it would have to be the case that death is more than not existing.
Well, look, dude. Some people can have innate ideas that don't match up with any states of life.
Oh, but you said you didn't say some people. You said everyone. And if everyone thought that, then wouldn't they all just kill themselves?
Yeah, but that's so what? Like, that's still a possible world.
Okay, so
I'm just not. That's not entirely the question. Here's the question again. Is there a possible world where everybody just has the exact opposite instinct?
I don't know for certain whether that's possible or not. I think it's probably not possible because I don't see any way that a species would evolve to prefer death to life.
All that it's trying to show is that your axiom is not necessary. Because if it's conceivable, because if your axiom was necessary, then there would be no possible world. It would be impossible for somebody not to have that axiom.
Wait, what I'm telling you, first of all, I just said I'm not necessarily comfortable with you characterizing it as an axiom. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is I think it's more likely than not that the world you described it is impossible.
No, it's not. It entails no contradiction. Like there could be a possible world where just everybody has exact.
Well, no. I told you the contradiction. The contradiction is I don't think that there's a way for a species to evolve to prefer death to life, because the whole point of evolution is to get stronger at being alive.
Just means you have a weak imagination. Are you familiar with modal logic? Do you utilize modal logic?
I'm not familiar with the definition, but I guarantee I utilize it.
It's no problem. It's just a way to think about possibilities. And so when somebody says possible world, they're not saying that like there's like a real world like out there existing that is like this way.
I understand. I understand. But even in theory, do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree that
beings that have all opposite intuitions and all opposite instincts, and then just have a failed way to achieve their desires? Like maybe every day they try to kill themselves, but they end up eating food instead on it.
Then that's infinitely less probable than all the alternatives.
All it means is that your proposition is not necessary. That's all that it means. Whereas the Christian says his proposition that the triune God of Christianity exists is necessary, and there is no possible world where that's not the case. That is the symmetry breaker between you and I.
Do you agree that some things are logically impossible?
Yes.
Good. That's a good starting point. Do you agree that okay, so based on that, I'm telling you your world is functionally the same as a logical impossibility.
No, it's not. It entails no contradiction.
The contradiction is evolution will not produce a species that prefers death to life.
Is there a possible world where species just pop into being because of no reason?
No, reason is absolute.
So you don't believe in any brute contingencies?
Wait, what?
Like, okay, why? All right, sure. Reason in our mind might be absolute, but because our mind thinks a certain way from your perspective, doesn't necessitate what the ontological states of affairs are.
Oh, I don't believe that.
Why can't something happen because of no reason?
I don't believe that our conception of reason constitutes reason.
Why can't something in the ontological states of affairs happen because of no reason?
Even via ontology, it would have to have a reason. Everything
what's that question? That's it. Why? Why is that the case? How come something can't happen because of no reason?
Because there's no such thing as the beginning of time.
You're just saying,
What do you mean?
What's the reason? How come
asking for a reason for causal change?
How come something cannot happen because of no reason?
What? I mean, didn't I just answer that?
No, you just said because it doesn't.
No, wait. No, that's not what I said, though.
Okay, let's say the universe began to exist. Okay, within this universe, how come something can't happen because of no reason? Like something just pop into existence.
Because it must be preceded by something.
Well, this is saying the same thing. It's saying exactly what I'm asking you. Why?
I don't know how you want me to answer the question.
I just want the reason. I don't want you to just repeat what you believe. Like I don't want you to just repeat
another axiom. Causal chains are axiomatical belief. You can't
wait. What if my answer is not the reason? What would a reason be?
The reason would be something like there's an internal, unchanging God that because his mind, or because creation is a reflection of his mind, and because every particular in his mind is related to something else, creation is related to something else. And under the Christian worldview, under the Christian worldview, everything must happen because of a reason, because everything that we observe is creation, and creation is structured on the logical mind of God.
Okay. I mean, to me, the reason is that there's no reason to believe, based on any evidence or logic that I've ever seen or heard, that anything could exist without having been preceded by something else.
Don't have a very good imagination.
What if he could show you that propositions prove the existence of God? Would you believe?
Do you agree that capital N nothing is impossible?
Hold on, man. I just asked you a simple question. What if he could show you that propositions prove the existence of God? Would you believe?
Well, you would first have to define God in such a way that its existence is possible.
A necessary mind.
Yeah.
A necessary mind?
What is the reason it's necessary?
Wait. Is that your whole definition of God? A necessary mind?
If a necessary mind existed, would you call that thing God?
Yeah.
I believe that a necessary mind exists via ontology, but I don't believe that God exists by definition.
God is defined as an entity.
You're just making it up again.
No, I'm not.
Making stuff up.
I am not.
Anything.
I promise to God, I am not making this up. Oh, I can explain.
I'm trying to tell you how God is defined. God is defined as an entity that is the precursor to all temporal facts, and that entity is a mind.
Well,
okay,
That's different from the definition that the other man just gave.
No, it's not.
I mean, to me, it is.
We'll just go with that definition for now to see if we can move forward.
So
do you have a problem with that definition?
Well, I think I did. Can you repeat it?
God is an entity that is the precursor to all temporal facts. That means that God being a mind, he is the necessary precondition for all things that are not eternal, all things that are temporal.
Right. So the problem, the internal contradiction with that definition is that we have every reason to believe that there's no such thing as before time.
Okay. That was an absolute train wreck. Okay. Nobody said that there was a before time. God can be defined as logically existing before time. There can be God sans time. Okay. There's no contradiction there. Okay. And first of all, you don't know what is outside the time-space continuum. So basically what you're saying is God does not exist because it's inconsistent with my ignorant conjecture. Now, if your notion about time is not ignorant conjecture, can you tell me what, if anything, is independent of time? Okay. Because time is just the indefinite progress of events.
So in theory, there is nothing independent of time.
Okay. Is that true?
Probably.
Well, I didn't ask you probably. Okay. So for example, in other words, it is impossible. It is impossible for anything to be in a timeless state.
Probably, yeah.
I didn't ask you whether it was probable. Okay. In order for you to say that something contradicts a timeless state, you're going to have to know what that absolute is, but you don't. All you're simply giving us is ignorant conjecture. And by ignorant, I don't mean that as an insult. It means it's a defenseless statement.
Oh, I can defend it.
Do you agree that the definition of time is the indefinite progress of events?
Yes.
Okay. So why is it that there cannot something logically precede events?
Well, nothing can logically precede indefinity.
No, I didn't say infinity.
No,
how is it that? Listen carefully. First of all, if I were you, I would not go there and use the word infinity because it's going to backfire on you.
I said indefinity.
Okay, listen to me. Are you telling me that something cannot be in an eternal state logically prior to events? Or let me rephrase it. Can nothing exist logically prior to the events of time and matter?
So if you're correct in saying that time is indefinite,
okay, I'm not noticing that's an answer to my question.
I am trying to answer your question. If time is indefinite, it cannot be preceded by virtue of the fact that it is indefinite.
You're not getting this. This is going over your head. Is it impossible for an entity to exist logically prior to the events of matter and energy?
Only if something else exists other than matter and energy.
Right. So there you go. You've now failed.
What?
Because what you're doing is what you are imposing by implication is that the totality of everything is the events of matter and energy.
Well,
so you're saying nothing can exist logically outside the scope of matter and energy and change. How did you determine that?
No. I'm saying nothing unless something.
Okay, I'm going to kick you out of the server in about 2 seconds. If you dodge one more time, I ask you a clear and fair question, you're gone. Okay? I deal with this crap every single day, and I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. Is it impossible for something to logically exist logically prior to the events of matter and energy?
I don't know.
Good. You've now screwed yourself. It's game over.
Why?
You've now contradicted yourself because then you said nothing can exist out of time. And I take it that you mean time to be the events of matter and energy?
Well, just because I believe it.
Okay, last warning. Dodge my question again, and without further ado, I will kick you from the server. I'm well acquainted with this strategy of bait and switch. Now, did you not say earlier nothing that can exist independently or outside of time? Is time the chronology of the events of matter and energy?
Yes, as far as I know.
Okay. So, as far as you know, how could you possibly know that?
The way I know anything.
How do you know that? Is it through your senses?
A combination of my senses and my logic.
Okay. First of all, through your senses would be ludicrous. So we don't want to go there because that would make you look silly. How does your reason demonstrate that nothing exists logically independent or logically preceding the events of matter and energy? So the only things that can and do exist are matter and energy. How could you establish that by reason?
Well, the only way to establish it by reason is to say that the only evidence that I'm aware of leads me to that conclusion.
Okay, that's an argument ad ignorantum. Are you aware of that?
Oh, please enlighten me.
It's an argument, an appeal to ignorance. That's a fallacy.
Okay, enlighten me.
I just told you, it's an appeal to ignorance.
Okay, but...
The appeal to ignorance is because X has not been proven to be true, then it's false. Or, conversely, if it hasn't been proven to be false, then it's true. That's an argumentum ad ignorantum.
Oh, to be clear, I'm not doing that. I'm just...
you just did. Yes, you did.
I'm doing something similar.
How do you know? Listen to me carefully. How is it impossible for something to exist at all, independently of and or logically prior to the events of matter and energy? How do you know that cannot exist?
I'm not claiming to know it to a certainty.
No. Okay. Do you believe it?
Yes.
Okay. On what grounds do you believe that the only things that can and do exist are composed of matter and energy and the change therein, meaning the chronology events? How do you know that the sum total of everything is matter and energy and the events of matter and energy?
I mean, I'm assuming you're asking me why I believe it, and the answer
What is your rationale that the only things that exist are the chronology of the events of matter and energy? How do you know that's all that exists?
I keep saying I don't know it for a certainty.
I didn't ask you if you know it. I said, why do you believe it? What is your reason to believe that?
My reason is Occam's razor.
No, sir. See, whenever somebody can't answer that proposition, they frequently go to Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a heuristic tool of preference. That if there are two explanatory hypotheses that have equal explanatory power, we are to prefer the hypothesis that explains a phenomenon that is simpler rather than multiply entities to explain the phenomenon. So yes. Occam's razor does not apply, sir.
Why?
You're not explaining the cause. What your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to demonstrate that nothing can and does exist outside of or independently of the chronology of the events of matter and energy. Occam's razor doesn't apply.
Why would I want to prove that?
Okay. You are on the precipice of being kicked and banned from the server. That's about the 5th or 6th time you've dodged the question. What is your reason to believe that nothing, in fact, exists independently or logically outside of, if you will, logically, of the events of matter and energy?
My reason is I believe that it's a logical contradiction to think of time-space as having started at a specific point.
We already cleared up that there's no.
That's not an answer. That's not an answer to my question. How do you know that the events of matter and energy are all that there is? What is your reason to believe that?
My reason to believe it is I've never even heard of any reason how anything could be otherwise.
Okay, that's an argumentum ad ignorantum, sir. That's an appeal to ignorance. Okay, that is a fallacy. Do you understand the appeal to ignorance? That it's a fallacy? Good. You have committed that fallacy again. I've just informed you you've committed the fallacy again.
But I think at worst I'm just appealing to my own ignorance here.
Listen to me. Did you commit the fallacy of ad ignorantum?
I'm not sure. I would have to go back.
Yes, you did. I just explained to you why I did. Something is not true. Okay? Something is false if it has not been proven true, and vice versa. That is an appeal to ad ignorantum, sir. That is a fallacy. Now, you need to give up on committing this fallacy. Now,
okay, so
how do you know that the matter and energy, okay, when I say how do you know, by the way, are you aware that know is a subset of belief?
Oh yeah, I have this beef with atheists.
Okay, now, and knowing is simply a term that we give for a greater degree of justification or warrant than believing. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, why do you believe, what is your reason to believe that the only thing that exists is matter and energy changing?
My reason for believing it is my entire, all the data that's available to me and my entire lived experience leads me to that conclusion.
No, you're just restating. You're just simply restating. Okay, what you just said is simply a restatement of the same proposition. That the only things that exist are those that I have access to with my sense perception. So nothing exists outside of your sense perception?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I believe
that because you're screwed now.
No. I believe that.
Are the only things that exist that you have access to with your sense perception?
What? I believe that there's no absolute or perfect.
I asked you a question, sir.
Let him
You're
talk,
not answering
for
it.
goodness sake. Oh my
Okay.
word.
You're dancing, dude.
No, hey, my goodness word, do you know how many prevaricators I deal with every single day? He's prevaricating.
Yeah, just let him speak though.
If you don't like the fact that I'm confronting somebody who's prevaricating, then too bad. Okay?
No, you just don't let him speak. Don't let people talk.
I am letting him speak, but if he's going to instantaneously prevaricate, I'm going to stop him, sir. Are the only things that exist are those things that you have access to from your sense perception?
So I believe that the answer to that question is yes. Would you like to hear the reason?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, sure. I would love to hear that reason. This should be a good one.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to start with the reason earlier when you thought I was prevaricating. So here's the reason. The reason I think the answer to that question is yes is because I think that there is no perfectly distinct or absolute boundary between an individual human and the rest of the cosmos. So what that means, in my view, in my opinion, is to some degree, to a very, very, very minute degree, and indirectly speaking, the entire plane of existence, the entire cosmos, has some degree of access to and influence over me.
You can stop. You can stop because I didn't understand a word of that because I never took courses in mumbo jumbo.
And vice versa.
That was mumbo jumbo what you just said.
So I believe that.
Do you realize what you just said was mumbo jumbo?
Maybe
it was nothing.
To the scarification machine.
Yeah. What you just said was classic mumbo jumbo. Now, okay, so nothing exists outside of your sense perception. Okay, right?
Not wholly.
No. Either it is the case that the only things that exist are those things that you can detect through your sense perception. Okay. Or there are things that exist outside your sense perception. Which is your position? And if you dodge,
my position is that nothing exists that I could not theoretically sense with my senses.
No. Theoretically, well, how did you determine that?
Well, let me rephrase.
Okay, so all right, let me just simplify this. Do you understand that what you just offered is verificationism?
No, let me rephrase.
I asked you a question.
Well, I said what
this is your last. Listen to me, dude. I have a short fuse when people jerk me around and prevaricate. I just asked you a direct question. Your whole pattern of conduct here, every time I ask you a question, with rare exception, you have been prevaricating and dodging. What you have just offered is verificationism. Do you understand what that is?
No.
Okay. Verification is the only things that are worthy of being believing or positing to exist are those things that I can detect through my sense perception. That's verificationism. Okay. Are we clear on that first?
Yes, that's not what I believe.
Okay. Well, you just told me the only things you believe is those things that you could potentially detect through your sense perception.
Well, what I should have said was
no. I just asked you a fucking question.
Oh, he mad.
This is your last warning. Okay?
Last warning.
I deal with people like you all the time, and I get pissed off when I ask direct questions to highlight what your position is, not simply for the purposes of elucidating you, but for elucidating to everyone else in the room. Now, are you going to continue to prevaricate, or are you going to stop?
I am a good faith man.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. When they cannot defend their own position, they resort to speaking another language of mumbo jumbo, and then they prevaricate, and then they prevaricate some more and some more. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm not putting up with it anymore. He wants to say that nothing can exist independently or externally, if you will, to the spectrum of matter and energy changing. Does anybody think that he has a snowball's chance in hell in defending that?
Hell doesn't exist.
How do you know that?
This is a joke.
Darth, did you watch Paul Ross's review on your talk with Stephen Law?
I did, and how humiliating for the doctor, professor, career philosopher Stephen Law.
He put music in the background, and it just.
Can you post a link so that everyone can enjoy that?
I gave you the link in your DMs.
Okay. Let me copy. All right, I posted the link in Atheist. How come it's not coming up, showing up the video?
I don't know. I don't know why sometimes it does that and other times it doesn't.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't understand. That should be showing. Why didn't it do that for me?
I don't know. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I just copied the link you put and posted it, and it worked.
All right, I just posted it again. Okay, it worked. Okay, so what can we learn from this? Okay, when unbelievers are confronted with their statements of ignorant conjecture, they just engage in double talk and double speak. And when they are questioned with clear, circumspect questions to expose their position is ignorant conjecture, right? Meaning these are defenseless statements. Then they just engaged in double talk, verbal misdirection, and prevarication. And they do it over and over and over and over again. Why would they do that? Well, I think we know why they do that. Okay, anyone like to make any comments, agreements, disagreements, questions?
I think he ended up contradicting himself because you laid out the impossibility, the actual logical, um, the logical, the logical possibility for there to be something prior to the changing of events in time. So you laid out the logical possibility of that, and I think later on in the conversation, he tried to make it seem like it was a contradiction. I think he was contradicting himself and constantly dodging all over the place.
He doesn't care because he's a disingenuous person, and this is what these atheists who are disingenuous and deceitful do. Okay, they dodge, they prevaricate, they lie, they engage in mumbo jumbo and double talk. I mean, maybe the conversation could have gone better, but I was never given the opportunity to choose the language of mumbo jumbo when I was in high school.
And then he had said at one point that it was impossible for something to come before the progress of events of time. And then when you pressed him to the wall, then he was like, "Oh, I don't know." So you went from saying it's impossible to "I don't know."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That means if you don't know, that means it might be possible for all you know. That's what that means. So you can't say it's impossible. So that's the point. So you contradict yourself there too.
Okay, so unless anyone else has any questions, agreements, disagreements, wants to make a comment, then we're going to move to the review and analysis of the ever deceitful Oz from the Atheist Roundtable. So speak now or forever hold your peace.
Let's just go to it.
And here we go.
There's no point in doing this.
Okay, let me just fix. Are you invoking the falsifiability criterion?
Darth?
I want you to notice how many times Oz absolutely and deliberately evades the questions I ask and how he prevaricates. This is what atheists do.
You know exactly what I'm saying.
Are you invoking the falsifiability criterion?
Can we demonstrate that the God exists?
No. Notice right there. He refused to answer the question.
He's just basically just dismissing you outright out of hand. He just doesn't care.
Well, the reason why is because he has decided in the own ineptness of his own intellect that he can't answer the question, or he's afraid to answer the question because of the ramifications. That is exactly what the doctor, professor, career philosopher Stephen Law did. It's called prevarication.
Or can we show it to be falsifiable?
I asked you a question. Did you introduce the falsifiability?
You know what the definition of God is?
Okay.
Well, it depends on what definition we're throwing out.
Okay. Oz, do you understand that the falsifiability criterion is a permutation of the verification principle? Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Okay. Now, the verification principle in the 20th century was used by the logical positivists in order not to deny God, but simply to neutralize any referencing to God. Okay. It was called the verification principle. When that internally collapsed because it was self-contradictory, the verification principle permutated into the falsification principle, as we now see it. That in order for something to be worthy of belief, it must be in principle falsifiable. Is that your position?
The way you strung that along, I'm not exactly sure what you're getting to.
There's no problem in how you structured that at all.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
These people aren't stupid.
Okay, so according to the definitive book, The 107 Stratagems of Obfuscation and Misdirection, published by the American Atheists, right? This is the maneuver of playing dumb, okay? So as to not answer the question, okay? He is purposely being deceitful and deceptive. Invoke the falsifiability principle in regards to God. In order for God to be worthy of belief, for you, must he be in principle falsifiable?
If I think I'm understanding what you're saying, it should be if you have a God concept or what you're trying to put in front of me. If we can't test it or prove that it is falsifiable, then no, I'm not going to believe it.
That's a category error. When you say test, testing has to do with observation and repeatability. Okay,
Yes.
But you see, God is not in the category of physical regularities. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, you're making a category error of physics or chemistry. Now here's the problem.
I'm not hearing anything. Oh, you paused it. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. Let me try to remember where I was here. What he's saying is if something is not testable, observational, and repeatable, then it's unworthy of belief. Well, there goes the fact that something is absolute, metaphysically, that there is nothing that is absolute, immutable, unchanging, and then is imposing what if any actual real regularities there are in our world, because that's not subject to testing, observation, and repeatability. So then that would be unworthy of his belief. And if that is off limits, then you don't have a basis to believe in the uniformity of nature. But if you don't have a basis to believe in the uniformity of nature, then you have no reason to believe in observation, testing, and repeatability, because they all rely on that. This is what a numbnuts this guy is, okay? What these guys don't understand is they repeat the same atheist cliches, catchphrases, and sloganeering, and they don't realize how childish they are. This is fundamentally stupid, as opposed to metaphysics. Now, I asked you a question, okay? Must God be in principle falsifiable in order for him to be worthy of belief? Now, remember, he earlier said, your God is not falsifiable. Why would he invoke that? He's using the falsifiability criterion as a basis to neutralize any advocacy of God until and if God is either in actuality or in principle falsifiable. So I'm asking him just to simply confirm what he said earlier. So
I didn't catch that. Did he say the whole thing about falsifiability during this session? Have you planned it, or was it much earlier in the conversation?
He said it earlier on in the conversation. Your God is not falsifiable.
Okay, all
right. For those of you, I'm going to post a picture of Oz here. Okay, this is a publicly available picture, I guess, that he's uploaded here. Okay. This is the atheist genius that we're dealing with. Okay. So he was the one who introduced the falsifiability criterion as the demarcation as to whether God was worthy of belief. And I'm simply recapitulating here, asking him if this is his standard. And let's see if he engages in mumbo jumbo, double talk, and evasion.
Based on what we just discussed, I would still say yes.
Why post a picture of him? Because he's made himself a public figure. He's on camera on a weekly basis, Mog. Okay? Do you have a problem with me posting a picture of him if he's made this picture publicly available? Why? So people can add a face to what he looks like. Okay? Okay, now here's the catastrophic problem that you face. Since God is unworthy of belief because he's unfalsifiable in principle from your position,
yep,
then in your worldview, there's two worldviews, okay? God is not just an entity to be believed in or not believed in. God is also a worldview, okay? So we have God and then his creation. Now, that is a worldview. Now, before I move on, do you understand
that? So you're saying God and God being the creator is a worldview?
Yeah. When we talk about God, we're referring to God as creator. God is that which is the necessary precondition of all facts. Okay? I'm not defining God into existence. I'm just giving a minimalist definition of God. Okay? Now, that is a worldview. Okay? Do you understand that?
I think I see where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Do you accept? Notice, not even a direct answer. Do you understand that? Do you accept it? When he says, "I see where you're going," is that a direct answer to me? No, more evasion.
Except no, because I don't know. I need to hear. I need to hear where you're.
Okay,
where
do you understand that when we invoke God, definitionally as creator, that is also a worldview?
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. That's how you define it. I do not accept that.
No. Notice the little game, the little stratagem that they do. They want to quibble with uncontroversial points. So that way, when I cite A in order to get to B, before we can even discuss B, he just argues over A when A is uncontroversial. Okay? Everybody see what he's doing here? He's just dodging and delaying, stalling, and running the clock out.
And it's just being argumentative.
Yeah. Okay. Does everybody see the strategy here? By the way, if anyone wants to jump in and interject in agreement or disagreement, you're welcome to do so, as long as you don't have a prior history of trolling, or in fact, you are not trolling. But if you want to disagree with the analysis, that's fine. All right.
Yeah, I think what he's doing is, it's not that he knows where you're going with it. It's that he's worried where you're going with it. So he's trying to destroy you, even building a foundation of, explaining these things.
Yeah, he's trying to cut him off at the pass because he doesn't want to deal with the possibility of where it's headed.
If we talk about God, and God is defined as creator, right? That is a worldview. This is uncontroversial.
I think even I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Mm-hmm. It's obvious.
Yep. But you see, he doesn't want to concede to that because he knows that I'm going to box him in. Okay? So he will concede to nothing. This is what a disingenuous, deceitful individual he is. By the way, this isn't the first time I've dealt with this slippery prevaricator. I've dealt with him on several occasions.
Definition.
Okay, Oz, listen to me. Do you reject or not accept all God concepts?
Oh, right now, yeah,
okay,
right.
So,
right.
You do not. So you do not accept the God concept.
No.
Where God is characterized as eternal creator.
No.
Right? Good. Now,
disqualified God.
Now, when we talk about God as creator, as opposed to that God would be a creature and subject to some parameters of existence, okay? We're talking about God as creator. Now, you don't accept that. Now, whether you accept God or not, God as conceptualized as creator is also a worldview, because you have God and then his creation. Okay, it's a worldview. Now, you don't accept that worldview, right?
Correct.
Okay. So God is not just an entity to be believed or not believed, that God also is a worldview. So there's only two worldviews, okay? There's God and not God. Okay? It's a true dichotomy. Now, either in the God worldview that God is ultimate and the source of all possibility, and if that is to be rejected, then you will be in the not God frame of reference or worldview with whatever is fundamental in that worldview. Now, in order for God to be falsifiable, you would have to know what it is that is fundamental and ultimate and its derivatives in order to falsify God. But since you say that God is not falsifiable, then God can never be put on the table. Is that your view?
Say that last part again.
You say that God is unworthy of belief. You say God is unworthy of belief. He cannot be put on the table as an actuality because he's unfalsifiable. Now, the reason why that's metaphysically catastrophic for you is because now your not God world is unfalsifiable in principle. Do you realize that?
No, because everything I experience
no,
every day, I don't require a God.
No, you're not under. See that? See what he just did was he responded with gobbledygook. Is there anyone here who could make any sense of what he said?
Nope.
Anyone? Was his response intelligible? No, it wasn't. He's just spewing rhetoric and double talk. Fonts told me you don't have a clue as to what I just said to you. Oz, what
Darth
would falsify the not God worldview that you are in principle?
Well, no, I don't need to falsify a God that I don't believe in.
No, you're not. No. Did everyone just see what he just did? Do you see how just blatantly deceitful that response was? Here, I'm going to play that back. In principle.
Well, no, I don't need to falsify a God that I don't believe in.
No, you're not. Now, did I ask him if he doesn't need to falsify a God he doesn't believe in, whatever the hell that means? Or did I ask him what in principle would falsify his not God worldview? Was his response specific to my question? The answer is no. He was prevaricating. He was being deceptive and deceitful. Oz, you gotta focus, Oz. You need to focus on what I'm saying. Did you see that doofus, Randolph Richardson just gave him a thumbs up? You see that, Tonlock? He just gave this doofus Oz, who was prevaricating, the thumbs up. I'll repeat the question and I'll shut up.
To falsify.
Oz,
I have nothing to falsify.
No, you're not understanding. You have a criterion of belief, which is the falsification principle, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I believe that the God should be tested and falsified.
Okay. No. Okay, but God is a. Does that apply? Okay. Listen to me. God is a worldview. So does the falsification criterion, does it equally apply to all worldviews?
Well, you're the one telling me it's a worldview. I didn't.
I'm not. Okay. You see, this is uncontroversial, right? He's literally responding like he's a deceptive 15-year-old who's trying to conceal that he's smoking pot in his parents' house. Okay? What pot? I don't smoke any pot. Do you smoke any pot? What are you talking about? Oz, this is uncontroversial. Okay?
To you, because you're the one setting all this up. Like nobody's stupid.
Listen to me carefully.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Hey, Oz, this is listen carefully. That's Jungle. Oz, this is uncontroversial. Okay? Now, do you believe that in order to believe any worldview, okay, and I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to shut up, and I expect the question that I asked to be answered. Here's the question. Do you believe that any worldview that is to be believed, that it must be in principle falsifiable? Now, How many in here do you think that he will answer the question? How many of you in here think that he will not answer the question? Well, the answer is he won't. He's just going to play dumb, prevaricate, dodge, and obfuscate.
You define it as worldview, not me. Okay. I don't see.
Oz?
I don't see. No, like
this is uncontroversial.
If you're going to say you're going to ask a question and then be quiet, then be quiet.
Because you've already answered it. You're being dismissive. So what he would have to maintain in order to show that he's not lying is that he doesn't have any worldview at all. Okay? Or that he has a worldview, but the worldview does not constitute not God. But then if his worldview did not constitute a not God worldview, then it would be a God worldview, which he rejects. So this is what they do. They play stupid, they play dumb, they obfuscate, they dodge, they dance, they stall, they run the clock out, they prevaricate. And they're glib about this on YouTube. What you're now doing is
you don't like the answer because I'm not.
Now notice he's not answering my question. And then when I point out to him that he's not answering the question, he goes, "You just don't like the answer." The issue is not that I don't like the answer, is the response is not an answer to the question. Doing is you are quibbling about something that is uncontroversial. Okay? God and not God are worldviews. Okay? Are we clear?
That's what
he's no.
That's what I say. No, it's not. That's not a worldview to me. It's a worldview to you.
Okay. If you talk to any philosopher, professional, or theologian, they will tell you that God is a worldview, unless, of course, okay, the God that you're referencing is some creature that is subject to some parameter of existence. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the concept of God as creator. The concept of God as creator is a worldview.
That consensus does not exist among philosophers.
Okay, listen to me carefully. Now, did everybody hear what the doofus Randolph Richardson just said? That consensus does not exist. So could he appeal to any plurality of philosophers who would say that believing that there's an eternal God and that he instituted a creation, you can show me a professional paid philosopher who will say that is not a worldview? Could you show me even one? Talk to any professional philosopher, and if we talk about as God as defined as, listen to me, you're just bullshitting again here, okay? This is divide and conquer. Listen carefully. If God is defined as creator, then by default, it is a model of reality. It is a worldview. Now, did you hear what he just said? He said, to you. You see Randolph Richardson has his thumb up? You see how these people, these adults who are actually teenagers trapped in adult bodies, they do not reason like grown men. I mean, this position that I'm advancing, that God as eternal and the creator of all temporal facts, is uncontroversial, that it's a worldview. So what they're going to do is they're going to take any point that they can just to simply and just be a contrarian on. And then the conversation goes nowhere.
I think there's a particular ethos about the atheistic perspective, and that ethos is simply everything is controversial. Even certain things that they don't immediately object to, at some point they're going to make certain things that they didn't object to before controversial. So at some point or another, everything must be controversial, even things that they didn't challenge beforehand.
No, there are things that they don't reject, but they will reject within the dialogue simply to obstruct and slow down the direction that the dialogue or dialectic is going in. It's called obstructionism.
If it doesn't imply God, they won't reject it. If it implies a God, they will.
Yeah. Okay. They don't want to concede to any non-controversial point if you're going to use it in a line of reasoning that will lead to of theological significance. And by that, I just don't mean about invoking God, but that it will have implications for the not God position as well. So I would like to know, how is Oz's reasoning as a grown adult any different than being a snot-nosed pothead teenager who's just simply being argumentative? I see no fundamental difference. Controversial. You see, what you're doing right now is what atheists do all the time. You argue over minutia. Okay, when I say now, you see Randolph Richardson shaking his head. God,
The nice guy being slowly but surely whittled away. It just seems like it's an act to me at this point.
Yeah, they you know what? They truly have mental, emotional, spiritual problems. This is a mental, emotional, spiritual problem. That they're so craven that they will be glaringly deceitful and deceptive. They will be shamelessly deceptive. Okay? Why would somebody be so shamelessly deceptive in a conversation? Why? Well, we know why. The creator-creature distinction. Okay? If God is defined as creator, then that is the same thing as a worldview called the creator-creature distinction. There's God, and then there is his creation. That is a worldview. Now, if that worldview is negated or rejected, then it can only be negated and rejected, in virtue of a worldview. Okay?
Okay, and the last time you and I spoke, this is exactly where we got, and I told you that this is until we can all have good reason to believe that this creator or this God or this source does certainly exist, that it's nonsense.
Okay. Well, first of all, he's taking a positive position, but he's dressing it up in phraseology as though he was neutral.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay? He's trying to represent his positive position that there is no evidence for God, or the world in its entirety is indicative of God, right? That's a positive position. But he's trying to present it that he's just a bystander saying, well, I don't see that pink polka dotted flying bear. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. You see, this is because the contemporary atheists, at least for the last generation, they're completely philosophically and theologically inept to defend what they really believe. They have almost collectively joined, in a kind of an imbecilic cabal of playing dumb or I just lack belief. We're just unconvinced, right? What he's trying to suggest there, and by the way, I was doing that on purpose. What he's trying to suggest here is that there's some kind of burden shifting. Burden shifting only is a valid charge if the other side can truly be reckoned as neutral. But you can't be neutral toward God. Remember Jim Big Mac Barrows? Excuse me, Jim Big Mac Barrows, I believe. Remember him, Tonlock?
Not. I remember Jim Majors, but not that guy.
Jim Barrows. 2 weeks ago, I think Jay Robin called in and spoke on the Atheist Schmerience. And he's the guy who's the atheist who's 2 tons of fun.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, he pulls out a deck when Jay Robin pointed out to him that you can't be neutral toward God. He goes, no, you can be neutral. You can be neutral about anything. And he pulls out a deck of playing cards, and he cuts the deck, and he goes. He goes, no. He goes, okay. He holds up the playing cards. Am I holding an even or an odd number of cards?
Yes. Yeah, that piece of garbage, dude. That was just terrible.
No. Wrong. Am I formerly nicotine stained fingers? Am I holding an even or an odd number of cards? Don't you see the imbecilic nature of comparing the metaphysical discussion of God or not God to whether or not there's an even or an odd number of cards? Even the Stanford Encyclopedia, in its open introductory article on atheism, said the I don't know answer is simply an evasion. It's not a direct answer to the question. All right, let's continue. I mean, I can barely stand listening to Oz a second time through. He's such a prevaricator. Haven't resolved the issue.
Right.
The issue. Let me just wrap this up here, because I want to expose this foolishness that Oz has picked up. He doesn't realize how incoherent it is. God is defined as creator as a worldview. You can laugh all the time. You see, not only are they deceitful, dishonest, prevaricating, they sit there and laugh like they're stoned 15-year-olds in their parents' basement.
Yeah. Laughing like a bunch of gossiping little girls.
Okay? And they're shameless about this. Shameless.
They're glorying in their dishonesty.
Yes. And the funny thing is, the guy picks a great white shark as his avatar, as though that is in any way representative of him as an atheist. Okay? One who is looking very dumb, Oz.
I know.
Now, if we have God as creator, defined as creator, that is a world. If you deny or do not accept that, you can only do so from a worldview that negates that worldview, because then that worldview is not necessary. It's not the worldview that you are speaking out of or from. So the point is this: God is a worldview. This is uncontroversial. The only reason why you would want to argue about this is so that your falsification criterion cannot be examined. Now, since God is a worldview and you insist that it must be falsifiable in principle, then what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. is your not God worldview, is it falsifiable in principle, Oz?
You're creating this scenario because you're creating it's either God or not God.
He's getting defensive, not answering the question. This is hilarious.
So there's something else besides God or not God? Gee, what would that be?
I am 100%. Hold on, hype man.
It's a true dichotomy.
I'm allowed to say I don't know.
Notice. I didn't ask that question. I said, either you're going to be speaking from the God worldview or not. At any time, you're speaking from a worldview, whether that worldview is clear in your mind or whether it's ambiguous. But either way, everybody has a worldview, even children do. And you'll notice how they always resort to, I don't know. We're not asking if you know. We're talking about what you believe.
Well, saying I don't know would have to come from a worldview as well.
Yeah, I know.
You'd have to have the prerequisites to not know things.
Yeah. So does your world provide the prerequisites in order for some things to be known? The guy is so inept. He's among the most inept atheists I've had the displeasure of interacting with. That's how pathetic this guy is. I didn't ask you if you know.
Hang on. Hey, everybody, time out for a second. The point is that whether or not you know if there is God or not God doesn't change the underlying reality that either there is God or there is not God. Just because you don't know. Just because you don't know has no relevance.
Don't be baited. What he's doing is, right, what he just said is a form of moving the goalpost. Oz, either you have a God worldview or you have a not God worldview. Okay? It's a true dichotomy. Okay? It is a true dichotomy. Okay? And if you argue about that, you're either being deceptive or you are ignorant. So this
dichotomy is correct. Either you believe or you don't. Yeah.
No. We're talking. Did you notice? Did you notice what Randolph Richardson just did there?
Yeah, run that back. I just missed that.
Okay.
He acts like he's agreeing with you, but he changes the presentation of the dichotomy.
He's actually misrepresenting what I said. Okay. Now, there is a superficial overlapping between what I said and he just said. It is true. You either believe or you don't believe. But that's not what I was talking about. Notice how I'm constantly trying to discuss propositional content that is external to our minds. And you'll notice how they want to keep on bringing everything back to mental states or autobiographical or psychological conditions. Right? They are so committed that God doesn't exist, but they know they can't defend it. So they are going to fight tooth and nail. They're going to fight to the death. Okay? Because if they concede that their position is that God does not exist, then we can say, how so? How now, brown cow? Right? How? And they know they can't defend it. So they play this little game. And what is shocking about this is that even the professional atheist philosophers pull this adolescent reasoning crap. Right?
Hey, Darth. In your view, what's worse to you, an atheist or an agnostic, somebody who doesn't believe, or somebody who does believe in God, but they believe in like Mormonism or Catholicism or a sect that you don't accept? Which one do you think is worse, or are they just equally as bad?
Yeah, Can you repeat the question and make it a little bit more refined?
Well, I've noticed that you call Catholics cultists and stuff like that over the years. This is Bob Bowie, by the way. We've had interactions in the past. I just wanted to know, in your mind.
I know who you are. I have notes on you.
Okay, well, who's worse, an atheist or a non-believer, an agnostic, whatever you want to call them, or somebody who believes in a sect of Christianity such as Catholicism, Mormonism, etc.?
Well, in one sense, they're all in the same predicament because they are erecting in their minds an idolatrous conceptualization or worldview that is not conforming to the mind of God. Okay? Right? Now, it may seem like the cultists are not as bad, but from the God of the Bible standpoint, from his standpoint, they're atheist as well. Right? Because the only from in the mind of God, the God of the Bible, the only coherent and intelligible God concept to hold is the one that he revealed in the Christian scriptures. And that if we try to modify or pervert or adulterate what he has revealed in there with another God's concept, that those gods do not in fact exist. So they are as non-existent as the whatever an atheist will consider to be fundamental that's not God in the totality of everything that exists. So they're all equally in a bad place. Now, on the other hand, in a different sense, at least they're acknowledging that what is fundamental to all possibility is a mind. So with that respect, they're in a better position.
Right, because they believe in a creator or the creator or whoever they want to call it. Okay.
It depends on what perspective you're looking at this. John Frame is a biblical theologian, and he's come up with a concept called perspectivalism. Okay, and I've just begun to start reading about that. And our perspective on certain things can change what we conclude about, what things are or how we evaluate them, depending on the perspective. Okay. So in one perspective, they're all equally bad, but from another perspective, one position would be better than the other because at least they're acknowledging that what is fundamental is a mind, God.
And that's what I was kind of figuring you would say, even though, because I have seen you get into debates with like Catholics, for example, and it's been pretty brutal to where, I was thinking, who does he dislike, or not dislike is the word, but who does he think is more foolish, the atheist or the Catholic? So I think you answered it well.
I think before the God of the Bible, they're both equally foolish because they're rejecting the self-disclosure of God himself about who and what God is and the nature of salvation.
They're just doing it in different ways.
Yeah, they're just erecting a different. They're paying an homage to the God of the Bible, but they're not really believing in the God of the Bible.
I guess I bring up the Catholic example a lot because I interact with many Catholics in my life. I didn't realize that there was such a huge divide between evangelicals and Catholics. I thought they were all kind of, on the same boat, but, I guess not.
No, because they do not believe that the mind of God and how he reveals it is the only final authority. They believe that the church hierarchy, through apostolic succession and their official pronouncements, have equal authority with the Bible, and in practice, it supersedes the Bible. That's in terms of a theological cult. A theological cult would be any organization that claims to be biblical or Christian, and that it alone is the one true representative of Jesus Christ here on earth, and it denies one or more of the fundamental doctrines of the faith and has an extra biblical source of authority. and that fits Catholicism like a glove. Now, let's say you have a church down the street. You say, hey, Darth, what do you think of that church? And then you point out to me that they have various aberrant doctrines on whatever, including salvation. Well, I might conclude that they're heretical and teaching a false gospel. But if they're not claiming to be exclusively to be the one, not positing, at least explicitly, an extra biblical source of authority, then I would not reserve the classification of cult for that.
What do you? So a lot of Catholics I've noticed, they kind of. It's almost like they believe Mary. Like, what are your thoughts on Mary, for example, as opposed to the Catholic worldview? Because it's almost like I see more stuff about Mary than Christ around.
Oh, it's nauseating if you look at the devotion to Mary and the things that they say. These are all just demonic doctrines that developed over the centuries, okay? Mary was a godly woman. She was chosen by God to be the conduit for Christ's incarnation into the world. And she was highly favored, and that's it. She plays no part in how we achieve salvation other than she gave birth to Jesus, and that's it.
Just a good example to live by, so to speak. Nothing more.
She's one of a number of godly people that are recorded in the Bible. Of course, she stands out though in that she gave birth to the Messiah, Jesus, the second person of the Trinity. You know, which she has that distinction exclusively to herself. But as far as I see no reason to believe that anyone in heaven can hear our prayers. I believe that there's a possibility theologically to say that they might be informed as to what some events are going on. But this idea that she or other dead believers can hear our prayers is patently absurd. And if you look at church history, this idea of believing that there is an elite class of believers known as saints is simply derived from paganism. In paganism, they had a concept which was called deification, where people became God. They didn't become the creator, but they become God in the sense that they achieve, a special level.
Well, yeah, aren't some saints like literally preserved, like mummified corpses? Some so-called saints.
They might be, but this is what, if you look at Catholicism and especially Eastern Orthodoxy, you can see the influence of Greek philosophy. Because in Greek philosophy, they believed in a concept known as deification. Sometimes people were deified before they died, and others after. Okay, and this was eventually incorporated and amalgamated with Christian doctrine, and as a result, what you have is a form of syncretism, the combining of two or more opposing religions into a new one. And that's why we have things like Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's just kind of the couple questions I had. Like I said, I interact with a lot of Catholics on a daily basis. Just wanted to know what I guess the big disagreements were, and I guess the Mary thing is the main one.
Okay, so how is it that God does not exist?
Oh, I'm just gonna bow out. I'm not.
Well, you solved the single most important question of human existence, and you're not going to share the good news about that? I mean, imagine you discovered cancer. And I said, how did you figure that out? You wouldn't share that with us?
I don't know. I don't think my worldview is anything special, but
no. But you've decided there is no God. How in the world did you decide that?
Wouldn't you have to believe your worldview is true? So
I guess I'm a gambler in that sense that I don't really know. I mean, I would love to be to have a divine revelation. That'd be nice.
Listen to me. You have decided in one way or another that there is no God. Now, it's extremely commonplace for atheists to try to characterize their position is that you're just unconvinced or you lack belief. But that's just a publicity campaign. That's not really what you believe or other atheists believe. You do not believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you do not believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God. Okay? I could ask you right now, do you positively believe that God is the necessary precondition of all facts that are not God?
Can't say that I do. What I hope there is a God, though. I hope there's a heaven.
Okay, right.
I hope so.
Then you believe by default then in the independence of facts from God.
I guess you could say that.
So you believe that the facts in the world, they just are whether or not God exists. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if you positively believe in the independence of facts from God, even though you may try to be humble and say, but I would love for God to exist. Okay, that's all well and good. But what you do believe is in the independence of facts. Now, if you believe in the independence of facts from God, then God cannot logically coexist in your world. So what you do believe necessarily commits you to the falsity of God, whether you want to admit it or realize it. It's modus ponens.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself agnostic. I would consider myself an atheist. But I hope, like I said, I hope there's a God. It'd be nice.
So how is it that God does not exist?
I just find it highly unlikely.
Okay, that's a category error. Okay, whatever it is that is fundamental to reality, we're going to have to acknowledge that it's going to have to be absolute and immutable. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any rhyme or reason to believe in anything, including any consistencies or regularity. So whatever it is that is fundamental, it will necessarily exist. And therefore, its existence is not one of contingency, like it's possible there's a deer in my backyard. I could say to you right now, it's possible there's a deer in my backyard, and I could go look out the window and it might be a deer, there might not be. But whatever is fundamental in reality, God or not God, is not subject to contingency. It either necessarily is or it is necessarily not. So to apply possibility to that is a category error. So your position is once you believe in the independence of facts, you are committed to the falsity of God.
It's not that it's likely he doesn't exist. Your position is he does not exist.
Right. Yeah. You positively believe in the independence of facts.
Yeah, I really don't think a creator does exist, but I would love to.
Good. So what is your reason to believe there is no God?
I must admit, I'm not very well versed enough on the religious, philosophical kind of terms that you're pretty good at.
Did you wake up one morning and before you got your Dunkin' Donuts coffee and your egg sandwich, did you reach into your pocket, flip a coin, and said, heads, God exists, tails, he doesn't? Did you do that?
No.
So when you decided that there is no God, was that purely irrational and arbitrary?
Well, maybe to a Christian, you can consider that irrational and arbitrary.
That doesn't address it. That's not an answer to my question. Were you purely arbitrary and irrational when you decided there's no God?
I tend to think of myself as a rational thinker, so no, I mean...
So you rationally concluded there is no God?
Well, yeah, I know how I say that, I rationally concluded, in my opinion, that he probably doesn't exist.
No, we've already covered that.
Yeah, I know. So then, yeah, I guess I did in a way, or maybe unconsciously, because I don't actually think about religion.
We've already covered that God probably existing or probably not existing is a category error. Right? So you decided that facts are independent of God, that necessarily commits you to the falsity of God. So how did you rationally conclude there is no God?
Well, I would say that I haven't seen enough evidence for it, but then you'll hit me with the evidence of thermodynamic laws and stuff like that.
No. I'll do something much better. You could not rationally conclude that facts do not stand in causal relations to God unless you first determined that God does not exist by virtue of what is fundamental and stand in causing relation to all facts. Have you determined what it is that is fundamental to all facts?
No, I guess I haven't.
Okay, then how did you rule out that facts do not necessitate referencing God as the precondition of facts? How did you determine that?
Well, in my opinion, I really haven't ruled it out, so to speak. I really don't even. No. I know.
Wow. Listen to me. You just stated there's no evidence for God, right?
Right, but if I was shown some evidence,
how did you determine that all the facts that you're acquainted with do not necessitate referencing God as the ultimate precondition of facts?
Well, I mean, you don't really need God to understand 2 + 2 = 4, right?
That's not an answer to my question.
I don't know. Some facts I just presuppose. I guess we all presuppose on facts.
That's not an answer to my question. You are prevaricating.
Well, like I said, I told you I'm not as versed on the philosophical vocabulary.
Well, I'm not giving you philosophical nomenclature. You've decided that facts in this world do not necessitate referencing God as the precondition of those facts, and we could alternately say that you've decided that facts do not stand in causal relations to or with God. Is that your position?
Yeah, I guess. Like I said,
have you determined what all facts do stand in causal relations to as the ultimate precondition? Have you determined what that is?
No, I guess I haven't.
Then how did you rule out God?
Well, I mean, I tend to lean towards the supernatural not existing. I mean, I consider the belief in God's values.
Since you don't know what it is that is ultimate, absolute, and fundamental, the precondition of all facts, you don't have no idea what that is, but you know it's not God, right?
Like I said, I think it possibly could be God. There could be, but
okay. That's the third time you're going back to the category error, like a dog that goes back to its vomit and says, wow, a hot meal. Well, it's not a hot meal. It may be steaming, it may be smelly, but it's not something you want to eat. You're going back to a category error. Now, since you don't know what it is that is fundamental and ultimate, the source of all possibility, how did you determine or arrive at that it's not God?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't really taught much about God, so I mean, I don't really know.
No, you decided that what is fundamental to facts is not God, and you demonstrated that by saying nothing is evidence of God. In other words, these facts can be invoked as actual and intelligible without the necessity of referencing God as the precondition. So how did you determine that God is not the ultimate precondition when you don't know what the ultimate precondition is? How did you rule God out?
I guess I don't really have an answer. I mean,
So you irrationally and arbitrarily decided there's no God?
I guess, yeah. I mean, I've done lots of irrational and arbitrary things.
So atheism is irrational then?
To some people, sure. I think it's pretty rational.
Atheism.
Why would you think it's rational? You've yet to give a rational
explanation. You just admitted that there's no rational grounds for the propositional content that God doesn't exist or that nothing stands in relation to God. Do you have one reason to support that facts do not stand in relation to God, or to put it differently, that God does not exist? Do you have one reason?
Well, I don't know which God is the real one. If there is a God.
Here we go. The 107 Stratagems of Obfuscation, published by the American Atheist. You get it free in a tote bag when you subscribe to American Atheist.
I don't know. I've never been to a church, so even if I did, I wouldn't know which one's real.
You're baiting and switching. Okay? When you talk about which God, that's a bait and switch. Now, do you have a single reason why there either is no God, or do you have a single reason why it is that all facts do not stand in causal relations to God? Do you have one single reason to support that?
Not that I can think of right now. I wasn't really expecting to have such a conversation.
So your atheism, insofar as you exemplify it, is irrational?
I don't think my belief is rational or irrational when it comes to
No. It's either you are irrationally positing that God does not exist. You're making a universal negative. There is no God. Nothing stands in causal relations to God.
I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off, but I am at work. I will do a lot of thinking on this, and maybe I'll come back at you at another time. Thank you, though.
All righty.
All right. Bye.
Would anybody like to comment on what you just heard?
But he really, really wants God to exist. He really wants it.
Mm-hmm.
He just can't bring himself to rationally believe in God.
Hey, who knew? I mean, I didn't know until recently how it is that so many of these atheists are multilingual. They speak English, they speak mumbo jumbo, and they speak double talk. Who knew they were multilingual? Okay. We're going to go back to the multilingual spewer of mumbo jumbo and double talk, the inept atheist Oz, unless somebody wants to make a comment about that last atheist. Okay. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about either we have a God worldview or a not God worldview. Now, you insist that the God worldview must be in principle falsifiable. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to shut up. Now, do you believe that any worldview that one holds to or espouses must be in principle falsifiable?
Well,
I don't.
Your belief.
Yeah, I don't believe. You keep talking about worldviews. I'm not talking. I don't see God.
Your belief.
I don't.
You see, this is unadulterated, blatant prevarication. Okay? He wants to invoke the falsification criterion, and now when I ask him a question about its implications and ramifications, he just wants to prevaricate.
God as a worldview.
Listen, God. Well, first of all, I'll repeat it again. You're repeating the same objection that I have debunked. Okay, the creator-creature distinction.
Hold on. You haven't debunked anything.
The creator-creation distinction.
But you just over talking the entire time gets us nowhere.
The creator. Yeah, I don't know how you sleep at night with being so deceptive.
Oh, now listen, you of all people. You of all people.
Now he says to me, "You of all people." Now, could somebody give me a clue as to what he's referencing? How have I been deceptive?
Well, I think that the word we've come up with is subversive, Darth. It's subversive that you're questioning his worldview.
Okay, and
putting
so
it under the microscope.
And so from the twisted, mangled minds of atheists, how am I being subversive?
To question their foundational beliefs and not just grant them.
So I'm being subversive, aka deceptive, according to Oz. Oz is because I'm calling into question his most cherished fundamental parameters out of which everything he reasons. So that's being deceptive?
Yeah, that's my interpretation.
Does everybody see the pattern of behavior here about how greasy and slippery and deceitful and deceptive and that atheists are, how they obfuscate, they misdirect, they engage in mumbo jumbo and double talk? And what have I been deceptive about?
This is good. Go ahead.
Give me one thing. Wait a minute. Give me one thing that I've been deceptive about, Oz, and then we're going to get back to what you're trying to change the subject on.
Projection.
Nobody tried to change the fucking subject.
Projection.
Yeah. Okay, so Oz, Oz, if I ask,
everybody.
Now, does everybody see? And I'm assuming that those of you in here saw the other previous part of me going over Oz. Does everybody see how he just basically was being uncooperative in the conversation, prevaricating, and simply running the clock out? It's a total waste of time dealing with these individuals. Okay?
Yeah, he's trying to stalemate the conversation.
Yeah.
To bog it down.
Yeah. Stalemate.
While pretending he's not.
Yeah. One of the 107 stratagems of obfuscation and misdirection published by the American Atheists, which you will get free along with a canvas tote bag when you become a paid member of the American Atheists.
Shut up. Everybody shut up. Okay. This is going absolutely freaking nowhere. Okay. So,
of course it isn't, because he doesn't want it to.
I know.
He's stalemating the conversation on purpose.
I understand.
Why are you copying me, Darth?
Whether or not you believe in God has literally zero bearing on whether or not your worldview necessitates being falsifiable or not falsifiable, which is the entire point that's being made here. So, does your worldview have to be falsifiable from your perspective? Yes or no?
Well, and maybe I'm not getting the proper understanding of that, because I don't see
Look at that. He can't even answer. Is that an atheist who asked that question? LPP,
no,
is that an atheist?
That was logical, plausible, probable.
Is he an atheist, or I don't know who he is?
No, I think he's a believer.
Oh, well, he can't even answer that guy's question.
No. And this guy has an avatar of a great white shark.
He should put a guppy up there.
Isn't that an insult to guppies? Because guppies don't even engage in deception.
Yeah.
You see what frauds?
A jellyfish. Got no backbone.
You see what fake phonies and frauds these atheists are? Now, Just imagine I were to call in on the Atheist Roundtable and Oz was sitting there as he usually does with that dumb, smug look on his face. And given that he has the power to ramrod the conversation any way he wants to direct it, because he's running the show, it would be even worse than what we're seeing here.
Can you imagine saying that believing that God exists and is creator of everything is not a view of the world?
Do you have a worldview? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a way I see the world, but it's not predicated
Okay.
on
Now,
belief.
now, if you have a theistic worldview from your perspective, in order for it to be validated, does it have to be falsifiable? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If I'm basing my worldview on
No. I'm talking about your position on the theistic worldview. Okay. In order for my worldview to be validated, must it be falsifiable?
If the worldview is based on a God claim, then the God claim
that's not an answer to the question he asked you.
Let him finish.
You're prevaricating.
Let him finish.
Yeah. Notice how Randolph Richardson, the ever stupid and glib Randolph Richardson, is trying to white knight for Oz.
Fine, God.
It could be
Do you know
talking about.
how many times he was? Go ahead, Parakeet.
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say
been
Randolph was going to defend him no matter what, basically.
By the way, they love this prevarication. They love spewing mumbo jumbo. Okay, it's double talk, misdirect, dodge, delay, stalemate.
Well, I called it first, and then you copied me in the video. But it's just a technique to stalemate it, right?
I copied you in the video.
Yeah, you said it right. I said it here, and then you said it in the video. You copied me.
Well, great minds think alike.
And fools seldom differ.
Yeah. Barricading, and you say let him finish, Randolph. You're full of crap, Randolph.
No, you're interrupting him, Darth. You do this a lot.
No, I'm pointing out that he's prevaricating. He's not answering the question.
Okay, okay.
What a piece of garbage Randolph is.
Randolph, be quiet. Oz, answer the question, please. Yes or no?
If there is a worldview that's based on a claim of a god or a deity, yes,
you're not answering the question. Deity, that wasn't the question.
I am. You define the worldview. You define the worldview as a god.
You should do
nauseating it is.
For fun sometime. What you should do is have just a list of pre-prepared random subjects, and be arguing with an atheist, and just no matter what, like segue into random subjects going down your list. You know what I mean? Like just totally obscure the conversation. And, start talking about ice cream or something,
and they'll freak out. You know.
Yeah, they'll lose their mind.
Yeah. Welcome to our server, K. Is it KQ? KQ. Are you an atheist?
Oh, God.
KQ, are you an atheist? Well, I guess KQ is shy. It's amazing how shy and bashful the atheists are coming in here. All right. It's not the question he asked.
Let him answer his question.
But I wasn't even
your deity.
I wasn't even.
You see what he's saying? LP, he is prevaricating.
I'm aware. Look, go ahead and finish, Oz.
LP, Darth is interrupting.
We're aware of what?
Randolph, you're a man-child.
Never got to finish. If my worldview is not based on a god or a claim of a deity, if we're going to base a worldview.
Okay, did you hear him just say that? He says, my worldview. So he's now acknowledging that believing in God as creator and the creator-creature distinction is a worldview. He's now admitted that he has a worldview. So there's the God worldview, and what he just mentioned, the not God worldview. Right? Now, how long did it take us to let him get that to slip out?
On the existence of a deity or a god or a supernatural being, yes, that needs to be either testable or falsifiable. But
testable and falsifiable. Here's the problem. Okay.
And is he going to say next that his not God worldview doesn't need to be falsifiable?
Wait a minute. How does he test the causal principle? You can't. How does he test the actuality of the uniformity of nature? How do you test that? You can't. Okay? How does he test the actuality of identity over time? How does he test for that? Okay? Notice how they keep on making these category errors. Oh, it has to be testable. It has to be falsifiable. But wait a minute. Did he test his not God worldview? Is his worldview that is not the God worldview, is his worldview falsifiable in principle? Well, the answer is no, it's not. Okay? Because he says that God is unfalsifiable, therefore, invoking God would be meaningless. Therefore, there cannot be any invoking of God that is intelligible and meaningful. Therefore, the not God worldview would then be rendered unfalsifiable in principle.
I think he's about to tell us why that doesn't matter for the not God worldview.
Yeah.
I don't have that claim. I don't have that in my.
He's prevaricating again.
So you don't have a basis.
He's prevaricating.
Okay, so does the
doesn't have a basis.
Everybody, shut the flying F up. Now, in a dichotomy, if one side necessitates something, why does the reciprocal not also hold true?
That's going over his head.
Oh boy.
No, I mean that sincerely.
No, I don't know how much more clear I can be. If I have a world,
I don't know how much more clear I could be. Oh, you're making yourself perfectly clear that you're just attempting to stalemate and run the clock out.
Do you think he actually didn't understand that question? Or do you think he's doesn't want to answer it?
No, I don't think he understands it. I don't think Oz has the intellectual capability to understand that question.
Really?
Could be.
I could. Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but that's my evaluation of having listened to him speak on subjects. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's my assessment.
The reality that I have, and the reality that I experience.
Okay, the ultimate point that Darth was making this entire time,
he still hasn't answered
in a much more verbose manner, was in the context what we're all talking about. The worldview, the reciprocal, necessitates the same standard. Is the entire point. And in this context, we're talking about a dichotomy, right? Just because, and this is the whole point I was making about, just because you and Randolph claim you don't have any actual belief doesn't change the reality that ultimately there is a either or. Just because you don't know doesn't change the underlying reality of either there is or there is not.
He's not going to answer the question.
Well, no, I actually already did. No, and I appreciate.
No, you haven't. You did not answer
Christ.
my question.
So in the context,
I asked you. I said, must a worldview? I said, must a worldview, any worldview, is it your position that whatever worldview is presented to be accepted, must a worldview that is presented be falsifiable in principle, as far as you're concerned?
By the way, Darth, you are defining that the worldview is based on.
You are prevaricating again.
Okay,
that is not an answer to my question.
Then then that's all I'm going to do all night. Then
Okay,
What are
no,
they afraid of?
so what you have now admitted to the YouTube audience and the people in here, that what you are going to do is you are simply going to prevaricate and play dumb because you don't want to answer the question. Because you do not have the intellectual. No, it has not. It's not a matter.
You don't like the answer. You don't like the answer.
That is another childish tactic.
He literally didn't give an answer. What a retard!
Exactly.
Look, if he wasn't being so chronically deceptive, then he would have had more free reign to speak uninterrupted or uninterjected. But it's the same thing from beginning to end. He's just balderdashing. He's just speaking in mumbo jumbo and double talk. And you know what? They give each other high fives, slap each other on the back when they do this.
Hey, Darth, this is the atheist version of the Pentecostal speaking in tongues. The spirit of atheism has come upon him. Let him speak.
The atheists are speaking in tongues. They're speaking in double talk. Oh gosh. I mean, it's bad enough that he has to do that double talk, but he's not the sharpest tack in the box. But even when somebody is smart, like for example, the good doctor, professor, career philosopher Stephen Law, surely we cannot fault him as being unintellectual, not smart. He clearly is. But look, that was his stratagem, was to prevaricate, to dodge, to stalemate.
Well, the stratagems aren't unlimited. There's only 107 of them. There's only
that we know of. That we know of. The 100.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The 107 stratagems of obfuscation, misdirection, and deception, which you will get absolutely free along with a canvas tote bag once you contribute your yearly dues to the American Atheists. When you don't answer the question, answer the question, and then I point out that you're not answering the question, then you lie and say, I did answer the question, you just like it. You haven't answered the question. I'll repeat the question again. And you're only embarrassing yourself to the YouTube audience.
Cool.
Do you believe that any worldview, that is presented to you or anyone else to be accepted, that it should be falsifiable in principle? Any worldview.
If the worldview is predicated on a supernatural
you see what we're dealing with?
I believe his answer is no. His worldview doesn't need to be falsifiable.
I think I've come to the realization why he wears those such large baseball caps. That is to hide the lobotomy scar.
Yes.
That is not.
Okay.
That is not the question.
The operative word is
dumbest or most dishonest people.
Is the operative word.
What's that, Tonlock?
I said these are some of the most either dumbest or dishonest or both types of people I've come across in my life.
Yeah, they're teenagers trapped in adult bodies, Tonlock. Yeah. He knows he's been trapped because he tried to throw out the falsification criterion, but he knows he has no chance whatsoever. Yeah, he trapped himself by throwing out, one of his weapons that he threw out was the falsification criterion. And I immediately, was able to counter it by showing him that his invoking the falsification criterion is special pleading, because he doesn't believe that all worldviews must be falsifiable in principle.
He tries to cut your head off with it, and then you take it away from him and come after him, and he says, what are you doing? We're not fighting. We're not fighting. No, we're not fighting. Yeah. You don't need to use that against me.
Yeah.
God being relevant or being inserted into the worldview has zero bearing to the word.
Do you understand what's going on here? He is deliberately committing himself to not answering the question.
You're
Yeah, they're afraid of where it's going to take them.
Let's just continue. Okay, everybody calm down. Okay, so
Who was
Oz,
that?
I assume you recognize the
The guy who
premise
said
of the
he's
term
afraid of where
of the
it's
word
going to take
any.
him.
That was Jungle Jargon.
Yes,
he's a good guy.
Okay, so do all worldviews necessitate a god?
Do all worldviews?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so then if all
It's
of
a
them
miracle.
don't, then
It's a
any
miracle. He just answered the question.
would cover all of them, correct?
That's like what's that? It's a Christmas miracle. What's that from? It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. Hello, Imperium. Huh?
It's a Christmas miracle.
What's the definition you use of a miracle, Darth? A highly unusual event or something like that?
Yeah.
What is it?
By the way, Feckle, are you there? Just a little bit off.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you may have heard through the grapevine that
here we go.
I've thrown you under the bus, and been critical and finding fault with you. You know, even rumors of making derogatory statements. Okay, you may have heard that, but I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I truly and positively believe that I don't like you.
That you don't like me, you say?
So they're just vicious lies.
And after much thought and prayer, he considers his actions to be completely right.
It's all good, baby. It's all good. Hey man, as long as I can listen to you smash these atheist worldviews.
Oh
man.
God!
Good
Oh
enough for
God!
me, man.
Did you listen to my encounter with the doctor, professor, career philosopher Stephen Law?
Yeah, I did. He sounds like he's drunk. He's drank way too much soy. When I was listening to him.
Shut up, you double glazing salesman!
Yes. No, well, he's got the British accent, so you have to respect it.
You're using slippery words. They're slippery.
Yeah. Who's the guy that's talking right now? Is that his voice sounds familiar?
That's Oz from the Atheist Roundtable YouTube channel.
Roundtable. Okay, he sounds like that guy Wolf something we used to talk to back in the day.
Oh, that's okay.
Wolf Gang?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who he sounds like.
He does. Wolf King is the guy who had a regime of validity. That was him.
Yeah. That's the guy.
He was the founder.
Is that him?
Yeah, Wolf is the founder and
right,
president of Regime of Validity University.
The RVU, right? Regime of Validity.
Wolf. He used various screen names under Wolf, and he was somebody who openly acknowledged that he liked smoking pot. He loved traps, which are referred to as young teenage male homosexuals, and he has been nothing but a chronic, literal. Well, I don't want to say literal, but just he's been nothing but a chronic atheist troll on Google Hangouts and
ideal
Discord.
representation of the black community. Yeah.
He's the one who inspired us to start taking note of these atheist turns of phrase with his regime of validity.
Yeah, that was the impetus, the regime of the validity. Okay. Yeah. But we have to give him credit because he worked hard to start that university, and he started it by piecing it together.
Yeah, that's right.
I would assume so.
Okay,
and
so
we all know where it came
go back to in principle, if any worldview, or is it your position that any worldview must be falsifiable?
Who's the hype man? Keeps sounding like an idiot. But
I don't know. Just answer the question.
See, he refuses to answer.
No, no. Can I think for a second? God,
he has not.
There's nothing. There's like I don't have a quote unquote worldview to base this on.
That's not an. He doesn't have a worldview. Just minutes ago, he said my worldview. But now he says he doesn't have a worldview. Okay. By the way, Veckel.
You just lie, and lie.
Yeah. By the way, we just realized that speaking in tongues is not limited to Pentecostals and charismatics. There are atheists who speak in tongues. They speak in mumbo jumbo and double talk.
Yeah, I put it on the chat there. One of the things that I think atheists might say while speaking in tongues. I'm a Matt de la Huntai. I'm a Matt de la Huntai.
Korashunda Yabadabadu. Madeline Murray O'Hare. Madeline Murray O'Hare.
What channel did you put it in?
I should have fly spaghetti mustard.
Atheist helpline text chats.
Flying spaghetti monster Akbar. Answer to the question.
You're interrupting again, Darth.
Yeah, because he's prevaricating again. Randolph,
I'm being as honest as I could be. I'm not trying.
No, you're not. He says that was a lie. Even that was a lie.
I'm lying about being honest.
He's just mounting more and more lies. He's just mounting lies.
That's like when Ted Bundy is caught raping the dead body of a woman he just strangled. He tells the officer, "I was trying to revive her. I was trying to save her."
It was exotic CPR. It was exotic CPR. Yeah.
I'm trying to be as honest as possible. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's not very possible at his point.
Now you're lying.
Now you're going to tell me.
You are lying, sir. Look, dude, I'm probably more than double your age. You're a damn liar.
Okay, so let's put this in a different context. So, Oz, do you have a worldview? Yes or no?
I view the world as I see it and experience it every day.
I see the world through my corrected lenses.
That's weird.
I asked you, do you have a freaking worldview, period? I don't give a rat's ass
if he's not going to answer the question, check him out.
Darth, hang on. Dude, do you have a worldview of any kind? Yes or no? Or do you just walk around in a freaking nebulous ether of no definitive positions?
Yeah.
That's an interesting description, John.
Yeah, I mean,
very clever.
I'm dumbing it down. So, do you operate in a nebulous, like no definitive positions? Yes or no? Because if you say you have no definitive positions, then you're in everything you say on your channels is total bullshit. So, do you have a worldview or do you not have a worldview? Yes or no?
Well, I didn't say that.
He says it's not contingent on a worldview.
Yeah,
oh my goodness!
Maybe this will provide some more clarity because obviously between what
the falsifiability
here,
the falsifiability criteria is not dependent on a worldview.
I don't want to be mean, but I wish he would stop speaking in tongues. Okay.
The insanity of this is it's just palpable, man.
It's beyond belief. Okay.
Well, I think it's good that he's getting embarrassed here.
Question.
What and I do appreciate the fact that you are trying to be cordial versus the other. What is and maybe I have a different definition.
Okay.
When you say worldview, what's the definition?
Oh, LP, why are you putting up with this?
Hey, just everybody be calm. Okay.
I mean, how many times does he have to lie to you?
Just
calm.
I operate from the perspective that this happens. Okay, so is it your position that in context of your conversation on the Myth Vision podcast, right? Did you guys, did you or did you not both take the position that people who are still believers in religion are brainwashed and have been indoctrinated with positions, therefore their critical thinking skills are not in full operation?
Not all, but I would suggest
Oz took that position.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, dude.
Well, I mean, you guys were rather definitive
ask you about all people.
Deal in your conversation.
Yeah.
Well, sooner or later, when you listen to these talking head atheists or the professional atheists, sooner or later you hear out of their mouth that they refer to God belief as delusion.
Absurd.
That it's delusion. Okay? Now, they're simply revealing what they really believe. It's not that they're unpersuaded and they're non-committal. is they've decided that there's no God, but they know they can't defend that, so they hide behind representing it as a psychological state that doesn't have propositional content that's external to their own skull, right? But then they will turn right around and say that people who believe in God are delusional. Remember Ron Reagan did that when he was giving his speech to...
Oh, speaking of Ron Reagan, maybe we could hear a few words from him.
Hey, Darth, check your DMs.
That's an awfully arrogant position to have, to think that people that are believers or theists in general are just brainwashed. It's a very, very arrogant position, especially from coming from an atheist.
But you can't say that atheism is merely a lack of belief and simultaneously say people who have God belief are brainwashed. Because then you're making a positive proposition that their position's absurd, not merely lacking belief in it. So that's a clear inconsistency in their reasoning.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
we have to pause. We have a special guest. We have a public service announcement. This is the son of the former President Ronald Reagan, his son Ron Reagan Jr. Go ahead, Ron.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Could you repeat that, Ron?
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
Okay, thank you. Here we go.
There you guys have it.
Yeah. So Ron Reagan Jr., when he delivered a speech to the Freedom from Religion Foundation about 5 or so years ago, he kept on maintaining that, atheism was a lack of belief. He's unconvinced. But then later on in the speech, he let it slip. He goes, these people are delusional. Okay? You can't say people who believe in God are delusional unless you first decided that God doesn't exist or that nothing is indicative of God whatsoever. Walt, welcome to our channel here. I understand that you are a YouTuber. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was hard muted. I was just listening today. I think you and I talked a few weeks ago, and I bounced out of the server just because there were a lot of notifications and I got finals. But I figured I'd listen while I studied for my Spanish class today, if that's all right.
So, are you a YouTuber?
I am, yeah.
Okay, and what do your shows usually focus on?
I talk about like civil liberties stuff mostly. Second Amendment's my particular kind of issue. So,
okay. So why would that matter in a world where nothing is identifiable that is ultimate? There's no rhyme or reason why anything is then, right?
I think you could call me a deontologist. So I think that morality is a necessary thing.
I didn't ask you about morality. I said in a not God world where you don't acknowledge God as ultimate and the creator and sustainer, there's nothing ultimate that is identifiable. Therefore, there's no rhyme or reason why anything is happening. Right?
I don't know that that's true. I suppose.
Do you believe otherwise?
I mean, it's going to depend on what we mean by God at the end of the day. I think.
Well, God is defined as that which is eternal, ultimate, the source of all possibility, and a mind, and the creator. Now, do you withhold belief in such a ultimate precondition? Do you withhold belief in that?
I think that belief could be rational. I don't think that I would characterize it at all how you would. So, like, you may characterize it. I'm presuming you're a Christian.
That's not an answer to my question. Do you recall what my question was?
Yeah, your question is asking about a God and that entails properties of a God. My criticism wouldn't be of the God.
you recall what I actually said to you?
Yeah, go ahead and restate.
I said, do you withhold belief in God as eternal creator?
What's God? Like, I need to know what God is.
I just defined it.
Yeah, as you defined it, yeah, I do. I do deny that. I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, so then you have nothing identifiably that is fundamental, ultimate, dictating why anything happens.
No.
Okay, then why do you care about stuff that's happening when there's no rhyme or reason why anything is happening?
So, I mean, there's two different questions right now. So if you want to ask what the ontological grounding is, that's one question. If you want to ask about the ethics and how they're grounded ontologically, that's a different question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding
I don't think you're following the question. Do you care about certain events because there is a rhyme and reason why some things are happening? Or do you care about events when there's no rhyme or reason fundamentally and ultimately why events happen?
I'd say I care about events because there is a rhyme and reason.
Okay, what is it that is fundamental that will dictate what's possible and impossible, thereby granting us rhyme and reason why things happen? What would that be?
I think that it could be a mind structure. I don't ascribe being to that. I do think that it could be eternal.
No, I'm not asking you. I didn't ask you what it could be.
Mind.
I asked you what is it in your frame of reference.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm an agnostic is that I'm not sure. If I'm taking my best guess at what
there's nothing identifiable dictating what is, can be, or cannot be.
As far as like I feel like there's a sleight of hand here. I think that there's a difference between my epistemic state and what is.
Sleight of hand. Are you accusing me of being deceptive here?
I'm saying that I'm watching a magic trick unfold, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, that's another slippery response. Are you accusing me of being unclear and deceptive?
Yeah, like I think that
how have I been deceptive to you?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few moving pieces in what you're trying to say, which the first one is that you're ascribing properties to a thing and then saying that in order for me to accept that thing, it has to entail all of those properties, right? And then we're going to say...
you're speaking in tongues right now. You're speaking in mumbo jumbo. What specifically did I say that was deceptive?
You've ascribed a series of properties to God, and then you've gone back and forth conflating my belief with what is ontologically the case.
Okay.
So I want to just make sure we're clear moving forward.
That's more mumbo jumbo. Okay. Now, you said you care about certain events because there is a rhyme and reason why things happen.
Sure.
What is it that is fundamental, foundational, absolute, that singularly dictates what is, can be, and cannot be?
Yeah, an absolute. I'm going to list a series of properties to describe this thing, and then you can tell me if it's rational or not. Does that work?
I'd like you to explain to me what is it that singularly and fundamentally institutes and secures what is, can be, and cannot be.
Yeah, it's going to be a fundamental, omnipresent mind structure that I think is not a being. It doesn't make sense to me to describe it as a being. So if that's where I'm assuming with your theism,
a being is just something that exists.
I would describe it as an entity then, just to be clear with
you're quibbling over, you're splitting hairs. Now, I would like for you to tell me what specifically, in fact, is fundamental and ultimate that dictates what is, can be, and cannot be.
Yeah, I think it's this being, and I think that being is something that in my classes we've described as pew pew. This entity, rather. Sorry, the entity Pew Pew.
And how do you know about this?
Because the entity Pew Pew is necessary in order for me to presuppose any rational argument or conversation.
No, it may be necessary, but that doesn't explain to me how you know about it.
I have to presuppose Pew Pew in order to.
That doesn't explain to me how you know about it.
Yeah, I have to presuppose him. If I don't, then the alternative is a reductio, right? And I have to go through. Well, what if Pew Pew wasn't there?
You're not. You accused me earlier of being deceitful. You're being very deceptive right now.
Can you establish that deception for me?
Yeah, what you're doing is you're being entirely evasive. I keep on asking you,
yes, he is,
how you know about it, and what you're trying to say is that Pew Pew is an ontological necessity. I didn't dispute that with you. I simply said, how do you know that this fundamental necessity actually exists?
Yeah, because I can do a reductio on the alternative. And if the alternative reveals absurdity, then I can conclude Pew Pew exists.
So, okay, so do you know that this? So do you know that this world is not absurd? Is it the case that the world is not absurd?
I can't know that without. I believe this mind somehow communicating to me. I suppose you could say that.
Okay. So it's a mind.
Oh, I said that a while ago. Yeah, I don't take it to be a being like mind. I have a more liberal sense of mind.
But I thought you were an agnostic, that you make no determination as to what ultimate reality is or is not. Is that correct?
I'm agnostic as to like a specific theist question, I guess, if you want to be more precise. I don't know that
is that what is ultimate and fundamental a mind?
Yeah, it's the mind of it's Pew Pew. It's this grand mind of language and concept.
Is this mind eternal and immutable, absolute, and the source of all possibility?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, that's what we call God, sir.
Oh, okay. I just call it. I guess I just call it Pew Pew and.
Yeah, well, that's what we in philosophy and in theology. That's classically what we call God. So you're not an agnostic, then, are you?
I guess not. Yeah, I guess if that's God, I feel like.
And how long have you believed that?
I've been doing a lot of reflection since our last talk, and diving more into
how long have you believed in God?
I'm trying to think. It was like a month ago.
How long have you believed in God?
Like, I think that started about a month ago for me. Yeah.
And what did you believe before that?
I was more of, I guess you could say, I was a harder agnostic. I guess if you had to say, I don't know how to describe it in the terms that you would like or use properly, I guess, in the circle. I was more aggressive in my agnosticism.
So you were a strong agnostic. There's either a strong or a soft agnostic. Strong agnostic said no one can know what ultimate reality is. A soft agnostic would be somebody who says, I do not know or have a belief as to what ultimate reality is. So were you a strong or a soft agnostic?
I think I'm probably I think it would probably be strong at that point in time.
So you're no longer a strong agnostic?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Okay. I think we can know a lot more than I give credit.
So a month ago, you came to belief in God?
I mean, I came to belief in specifically Pew Pew.
Okay,
because I think that's the best way to describe it.
Listen to me. Stop being cute, okay? Or I'm going to kick you from the server. Now,
I'm not being cute.
Yeah, you are, because
my belief in Pew Pew's
you've already agreed that you came to believe what is classically, philosophically, and theologically called God, right?
I mean, you've assigned that. I think when you say God and I say God, I think
God in Western speaking English, God is defined in terms of a minimalist definition. God is that which is eternal, ultimate, the supreme being, and creator and the source of all possibility. So you came to belief in God as I have just described a month ago?
Yeah, I guess hearing that now, yeah, I guess you could say, yeah, this pew pew is God. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, so we'll call it God because people understand what God means rather than pew pew. But pew pew and God mean the same thing in your view?
Yeah.
Okay. So you came to believe in God. Okay. Now, have you how many have you done any YouTube streams in the last month?
Streams in the last month. Gosh, have I? I don't think I've streamed. I've been so busy with finals.
Okay. So now you're no longer an agnostic. You're a theist.
Yeah, in this particular belief.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are you a theist or a deist?
Well, I guess we'd have to kind of talk about the attributes of my take on God.
Are you a
Pew Pew
theist or a deist?
God.
A deist is a God who does not intervene providentially nor engage in revelation. A theist conception of God, where the God intervenes providentially and engage in revelation. Are you a theist or a deist?
Oh, okay. I think the revelations of Pew Pew are evident in every word that we speak.
You can say God.
I think that's all revelatory.
You can say God so that if new people join the room, they're going to know what you're talking about.
Can I? Are you cool if I say Pew Pew God or God or P God or if I do some kind of?
I will know that that's your pet name for God.
It's not a pet name.
Okay. Is it your name that you contrived, or has
I didn't contrive it.
Has Pew Pew revealed this to other people on this planet that his name is Pew Pew?
Yes, he has.
And to whom?
I believe to Noah Adam.
Who was that?
Noah Adam. He went back in the old YouTube philosophy scene, like way back in the day, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so your God has only revealed his name to two people?
That specific name, yeah. I'm not certain on the nature of that.
Yeah, that's strange. And how did your God reveal his name Pew Pew to? How did he do that?
I was just listening and observing, rational discourse, and when I was doing so, it became clear that this name that was assigned to this god, it could be the only possible accurate idea for God, right? So all the other.
I asked you how it was revealed. Did Pew Pew audibly speak to you?
No, it wasn't necessarily like a literal revelation, like I guess what the Muslims say, Muhammad God or something.
So was this intuition and non-rational and non-docastic?
I wouldn't say
So Pew Pew put an idea in your head that your God's name was Pew Pew, but he didn't audibly speak to you at all?
Yeah, that would be fair, I think, to say.
Okay.
Pew Pew is a Chinese god, and he's guilty of cultural appropriation.
Okay. So the point is so Pew Pew only revealed his name to two people on this planet. Doesn't that sound peculiar to you?
Well, I think there were probably about 5,000 to 10,000 views on the video where Pew Pew's name was revealed. So at least that many people.
No, what we're saying is well, if you want to go that way, fine. What else did Pew Pew reveal to you about himself? Is he talking? I'm not hearing anything.
Pew Pew cut off his internet.
Cannot.
Yeah, you're roboting.
Have any kinds of language.
You're roboting.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, so you informed your YouTube audience that you now believe in God and that God's name is Pew Pew?
I haven't had a conversation with them about it yet because it's not related to the type of channel content that I do.
You just told me the name Pew Pew was revealed on YouTube.
Yeah.
By whom?
By Noah Adam.
Could you provide me with a link to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would be delighted. Give me just a moment.
By the way, what is your major?
I am studying philosophy of morality, politics, and law, and then I've been accepted into a law school. Probably doing that.
That makes complete sense now.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. You'll have a wonderful career working for the future Democratic Party. They can use somebody who is, as you, is skilled at lying through his teeth.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty against the corporate Dems, and I'm pretty pro Second Amendment. I'm pretty radical.
Did you hear what I just said?
They'll
be happy to have a lawyer on board who's as skilled as lying as you are.
Oh,
why am I such a skilled liar? I'm so confused.
Do you actually?
Well, he's not skilled. He's brazen.
You actually. Well, I was being kind.
That's right.
Do you think? Listen to me, Walt. How old are you, Walt?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay. I'm double your age. Okay.
Okay.
I wasn't born yesterday. Do you think right now that I or anyone else in the room think that you're being truthful?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that the truth of Pew Pew's testimony is able to speak through my voice.
All right. Listen to me. Now you've crossed the line. You're bullshitting. You're lying to us. Okay.
It's one thing if you're doing a little shtick and then you admit it, but if you just double down on it, it's not going to go well.
If you want to admit that you've been pulling our chain the whole time, you can remain on the server. But if you're going to continue to lie that you really believe that God's name is Pew Pew, then we don't want people who are lying right to our faces. So which is it?
Well, it's Wittgenstein's language god of Pew Pew, I believe, that was revealed by Noah Adam. So I guess it dates back to Wittgenstein, but the language used to describe this god was Pew Pew in Noah Adam's video.
You told me that God revealed personally to you his name. Did you not?
Well,
was that Walt? Was that true?
I mean,
First
the revelation got to me personally.
Walt,
so yeah.
Was that true?
Yes, it's absolutely true.
Okay, you're gone. You're such a damn liar, and he's banned.
Pew Pew, ladies and gentlemen, Pew Pew. Let's give it up for Pew Pew.
Yeah. He's such a damn liar. What a piece of lying garbage.
Yeah, I was trying to say it in my Samuel L. Jackson voice that Pew Pew is a Chinese god, and his white man.
I gave him. Listen to me. I gave him forewarning. Of what I was going to do. Keep on doubling down on lying to us. You're going to be gone from the server.
Pew Pew.
Tell us right now you are pulling our chain, then you can stay on the server. But he wanted to continue to lie. Okay?
See, that dude stinks. Pepe Le Pew Pew.
He's trying to do a caricature of Christianity, but Christians aren't saying things that they know are false.
Yeah, got it. Pepe Le Pew Pew. That dude stinks.
Does everybody see the pattern of behavior on part of the unbelievers? The prevarication, the deception, the deceit, the consistent chronic pattern. Anyway, I'm hungry and I'm going to dinner, so we can resume this video when I get back later on this evening. And it's been fun. Right? It's amazing how deceitful these human beings are.